I think
yeah, because we are running out of time.
We are running out of time. So
okay.
As the presentation goes, we will chip in one or two things.
All right.
For
Okay.
our brothers who weren't
all right. Thank you very much again to the organizers of this talk, especially Dr. Mutaka in the chair, and then maybe the Ghanaian president and the executives, and each and every one of you. Thank you for inviting me. And then I think, like the chair said, this is a very important topic. And for me, I hold this in a very, very high, I mean, in my mind, I think every student must know this. So I think what we will do is, I will just try to, run you through some of the experiences that I have. And I'm sorry again if I use I to represent respect. So we will run through studentship, and then we will, how would it shape your career pathway? And then if you are talking about prospects, you need to have a very strong foundation. And that is where I think it's very important that we path our way through the studentship. And then finally, the take home message. So basically what I'll try to do here is, the prospect will be spilling around. You could see at every stage, it is a prospect and on its own. So I think you need to be a little bit attentive. And then again, what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to give you a brief overview of how some of the inclination or the setting that I found myself also, were able to shape me in the right direction. So basically, I'm from a setting where, as you know, in those days, you can see the education was like a privilege. So you see that some of your grandparents or fathers and mothers will not having maybe a formal education or not well educated, and it trickles down to the parents, like our parents. And then from here, we were also in a setting where it was made up of different tribes and different kind of age groups and whatever. So we had this micro kind of education in this kind of setting. We have the primary schools, we have the middle school, we have those who were able to make it to the secondary technical school. But unfortunately, those days, the highest we could go as far as our setting was concerned, I'm talking about our environment, was up to polytechnic or training schools. So now, if you are coming from this background, then it takes you a lot of effort, and then maybe a lot of guidance, and then maybe some sort of faith to really wallow out of this kind of system. So this was the setting. Now, I just share with you a little bit where you can see that people in your lives and whatever can play a crucial role in shaping you to be what you're supposed to be. Now, during my primary school, personally speaking, if you ask me, of course, we all know that we believe in God, we believe in Allah, whatever. That is very fundamental. But I, for one, what I can say was that I didn't know much, but what was driving me was self-determination, because we didn't have role models or people to really pave the way or to shape you. So I can say that one of them was self-motivation. And then here, another aspect was when I was in primary school, one of the people who really, until today, I will never forget, was my class 1 teacher, who really saw the potential in me, and he fought her way out to make sure that I was transferred from class 1 within the same, term to, let's say, class 3. So then from there, another person who also shaped me or played a crucial role was our headmaster. So he made sure that I was trained properly. So when I was sent to class 3, I was given to a class 3 teacher, and they tried to prop the talents in me. And these people, we are not related in any way. So this is how we should look at situations, not only the person that you are related to that you will prefer to help. So from here, I was able to go through my primary education just within 3 years. So now something was burning in me. I realized that during our time, we are talking about elementary school, the one you call Saito. So it's more or less like 10 years and you finish and some cannot even read and write. But I had this burning desire that I need to move forward. So my primary education was at Suhum. Then I decided to go to Kumasi because we had a lot of relatives over there. So when I got to Kumasi again, I had to fight it alone because in that community, I don't want to mention the community. Again, I mean, the education was not, I'm not saying it wasn't good, but it was not up to the level that I think I could do something and could get a mentor. So again, there was no mentor for guidance. And then I went there too, and I was unwilling because I left Suhum to Kumasi just because I wanted to have a better education. So I was not willing to go to the middle school. So I had to find my way out. So one day I was walking around and I saw one gentleman who was wearing a blue shirt, not like the khaki type. So I asked him where he was schooling, and he told me that he was schooling at Kumasi Central International School. It's not far from KJTR and not far from Cultural Center, Konfanochi Hospital, the barracks and the police and the prisons. So that was where the school was located. So what I did was I went to the school, and to my shock, as we all know, international school, usually they are very, very eloquent in English. So I met some in front of the gate, and even the past tense of here, I didn't know. So I went there, and when I went to the school, I went to the administration, and I was told that if you want to be enrolled here, remember I went alone and there was nobody to guide me. I'm talking about less than 13 years. So here I was asked to take an entrance exam, and then I went for the entrance exam. And amazingly, I was able to score. Normally, when you are from class 6 and you are going to any international school, the highest level you go will be what we call stage 3. And I got, enrolled in stage 6, sorry. So 3 years, again, I was jammed. So I started weeping. So when I was asked, what I did tell them was that I don't deserve that class. So I would prefer that I should be sent to class 3. Again, look at how destiny or people can help shape your life and your career. They saw the potential again, and they told me, no, I should just go to stage 6, lower. And then if I fail, they will repeat me. Even if it's 2 years, they will repeat me. So I went. And I remember my bench mates were Georgina Pokua and then Constant Jemfua. These were, again, my schoolmates were sitting on the same bench. And they were the ones who really helped me within that term because I didn't know much. So they really, really helped me, and I still hold them a big thank you. And getting to the end of the term, I was among the best 3, even though I was just from, let's say, stage 3. So here, what I'm trying to tell you is your interest and your sense of purpose can really, really create some sort of amazing environment and conditions for you to thrive. Now, from the primary school, there comes, well, what you call it, the high school. Now, again, when you are going to high school, those of you who know, we have something called Common Entrance Exam, and that was a national exam for the West African Examination Council, and we were to have our school selected. And unfortunately, remember, Kumasi, you have what you call the OWAS, Opokuwari Prempe, good schools like Achimota, Kwabuche, St. Augustine, Precept. All these schools were available, but I was never advised properly. So the only person who could advise me was a friend of my father who just finished middle school. So his thought was that it will be a little bit, what we call it, unsafe for me to go for a pure secondary school. So he suggested that I should go for a secondary technical school, so that maybe even if I'm not able to make it in the secondary courses, maybe I could have a technical skill. So coming from Suhum, he decided that I should pick Koforidua Sectech. So I had no even other options. I just had to go through like this. So this is how I chose the schools. And then we went for the exam. So when the common entrance exam came, again, remember, by this time, I had spent only 1.5 years at the international school instead of four years. And God being so good and kind, I was among the best of the top students. And even the rating in the class, I was among the best. So here, again, you can see the environment that you are in and your determination should be able to make you. So you don't go and brood over things and say that you are at a disadvantage and you cannot strive yourself out. You need to work it out. So at the same time as I was writing the common entrance exam also, those days we have something called middle school leaving certificate. That means you finish elementary school from 4. So that one also I took it at the same time, and also I was able to pass. That means that I secured my elementary education and my primary education. Now, from here, that kind of education also took me 2 years. Brothers and sisters, I'm not trying to blow my whole horns. What I'm trying to say is that you can make it and make it better, because now you have better facilities that can make you feel better and do better. So here comes what we call the learning outcomes. So right from the primary school and the setting, what I learned was never allow any kind of environment actually impede your progress. You have to make good out of it. And something that should drive you should be your zeal. It should be unquenchable. This is what we call sense of purpose. And remember that you can never do it big alone. You might need people, because you didn't create yourself. You are with people. So you need good people to also help you. That is why our human relations should be very intact and very important. And then you may have a lot of help, but if you don't have passion, then you have no way. There's no way. You can pray how many times a day or whatever, and without this kind of drive, I'm afraid it cannot go through. So then this will ignite something called positivity in you, a crave that will help you to go through. Again, you need to shape this crave with discipline. So once you have these things going, things will be all right. For me, this is what I can tell you that really drove me out of that kind of situation. Now, when I came to the secondary school, again, ordinary level, you have the advanced level. So I went to the ordinary level again. I got a scholarship, of course, being one of the top students. I got a scholarship, but unfortunately, when I went to the school, even though I was the top student, somebody in the bursary denied me the scholarship. Again, this kind of corruption, gave it to their own people. So I was denied a scholarship, even though I had a good score. So again, there was a gentleman who was in the bursary, hinted me that no, my scholarship had been taken and given to somebody, and I need to do something by telling my parents. Whom am I going to tell when your parents don't even know where you are? They don't know whether you pass or you fail. So again, the one who advised me to go to Koforidua Sectech was the one that I elected. And he went to the scholarship secretariat in Accra and launched a protest. And from there, I was given, but not that scholarship, I was given Cocoa Scholarship. So again, you see how people play a crucial role in my life. Now, when I got to Sectech, things were quite challenging. I don't want to make it like everything was rosy. No, I realized that actually I was not good in technical subjects. I was really not good. And I was really finding it very difficult. And I was also not good in arts. So I really had to struggle to even get 40% out of 100. Now, that didn't deter me. It rather helped me to know my weaknesses and shape myself according to my potentials. The other thing that I realized was that during those days, science students in particular, because Sectech was a science students in particular, you see that we can score all the science courses. But when it comes to English, those days you need a credit to go to advanced level. So I realized that most of us will fail in English. So what I did was, in my own stipend, I engaged an English teacher for him to start teaching me. And when I went to Kumasi also, there is a place called Cultural Center, Apata KCM. So there was this examiner in English who used to have part-time classes. So I started attending it. So brothers, as you move around academia, as you climb the academic ladder, you have to know your weaknesses and your strength and try to build on them. Suppress the weaknesses and then make your strength come out. So here, I finished my O level again. At least I got a very good grade. Normally they call it strong 1, 2, 3. So 1 means it's like you have had a good score, and then you can proceed to the advanced level. Now, when I got to the advanced level again, this time around I was getting matured. So what I realized was that school is good to go to an elite school, but if I want to pursue my goals, I felt that I need to choose the teachers or masters that were on top of courses, because I was going to read biology, physics, chemistry, and then general science. So I decided to go back to Kumasi, and there I decided to go to Ahmadiyya Secondary School. Now, the reason why I went there was the fact that all the 3 top science masters were all in Ahmadiyya Secondary School. Chemistry, we had a superstar, Ado, we had biology, and then we had physics. So I decided to go there. But unfortunately, the moment I got to lower 6, they all left. So I had to battle it again. And it was very, very challenging. In my lifetime, the only academic stage that really, really made it tough for me was my A level. So again, my decision was based on the fact that I want the better, not only what people follow. Sometimes you need to follow your interests. So this time around, I was able to polish my English because I got the full access of that English master that I wanted. Until today, if I go to any bookshop, the first corner that I go is the English language corner. Not because I want to speak good English, but I want to know the style of writing and the way to write scientific work. That's it. And I also chose to go back to Kumasi because those days we have UST, Science and Technology University, the one you call KNUST. And I used to admire the environment in a way that I just go and walk around, see how the environment is. It gingers me a lot, especially when I see ladies who are in the university. I look like them like they are superhuman beings. And sometime from there, I had an acquaintance with a friend who introduced me to a friend who was reading mathematics. So once a while, I go stay there, sleep there, pretending that I wanted them to teach me, but actually I just wanted to have a feel. So these are some of the things that really, really propelled me. I didn't look at my disadvantage to be a problem. I took it as an opportunity. Now from here, again, I was able to go through my, A-level, what do you call it, education. But that year was very challenging because a lot of papers were canceled. And I remember only 5 of us in that school were able to make it to the university. So those were the challenges that I went through. Now, coming down to I'm sorry, looking at the scenario that I'm giving you, try to pick the prospects because I'm not going to pinpoint them one by one. You could see every stage I'm trying to tell you, this is what you need to do, and this will be the prospect. So here, again, no good guidance. Who is going to tell me what to choose? So in my own wisdom, I decided to choose Accra Polytechnic to go and do diploma. Though Accra Polytechnic by then was not a university, so they were not offering bachelor degrees. And I also chose, of course, being a science student, UST, UCC, and then Legon. Maybe I didn't know what I was doing, so I just chose them. And God being so good and kind, I gained admission to all the universities, and including the Polytechnic. But upon reflections, nobody advised me. I decided to, I was going to read something like, not even sciences, more to what we call it, accounting and all sorts of things that I even didn't have basic background. So upon reflection, I decided to what? And then the technical subjects that I was not doing very well. So I declined the offer. Then UCC also, I decided to decline the offer, not because of anything, but the number of years. I was trying to maximize my duration in the university. So 4 years, I didn't want it. So UST also offered me, and I also declined. Now, what was amazing was that if you were a science student those days, Legon was not an option unless you are going to read pure sciences or you are going to read medicine, agriculture, because it was a liberal arts university. So when I decided to accept the offer, it looked like I looked like a strange person, but actually I had an innate kind of, what you call propping in me that no, this is the way, this is the way. So I decided to go to Legon. Now, when I got to Legon, that was where I did my first degree. What happened? I was in a very genuine dilemma. I had the sciences. I was never offered agriculture. I had the sciences, and I don't know, like I told you last time, I just felt like when I was walking around Faculty of Agriculture, I felt like I belonged to that place and not the sciences. So I started having a drift to that area. And when I told you last time that I went to the science faculty and the dean and the heads of department were frustrating me, I decided to go for nursing. Because if you will not allow me to go to agriculture, then I'll go for nursing because it's related to the science faculty. So they were welcoming me. But just as I was about to leave, I had a friend who came to me and told me that my wish had been granted, and I went back to agriculture and left the Faculty of Science. Now, from there, to cut the story short, again, look at how the career was driving me. So during those days, in agriculture, you're going to have a serious crash program for 3 years. And in the whole university, we call something FUE. FUE means First University Exam. It's a very, very serious one. You take almost general courses and whatever. And here we have what you call BUBRA system, not semester system. BUBRA means first term, second term, third term. You accumulate everything and then you go for the final exam. Not much of these exercises here and there. So if you fail 3 courses, you'll be expelled. So this was the kind of situation. Those days when you go to Legon and it was final exam time, even the vandals will have to keep quiet. It looks like a ghost area. So we were able to go through, but what I realized was that there were certain courses that I really, really struggled to survive. So as I move along, I tried to drop them because we had the options of dropping. So some of the courses that really proved difficult for me were animal science. So what I did was I dropped animal science plus economics. I dropped them. So when I got to my 3rd year, I had crop science, soil science, and agric engineering. So those were the things that I combined, and I felt that those were the ones I could do better. And lo and behold, again, I became top in that kind of group. So I was offered a teaching assistantship. And you know, those days for you to be a TA, it takes a lot of work for you to be there. It was very competitive. So I managed to get it there. And again, when I got there, so here you see the drift. I tried to drop and find my focus or my interest. I was following my interest in the academia, even though I had no proper guidance. So now when I go to the TA-ship, you know, you will have a little bit of flair and a little bit of independence to work very well to prove your worth, because you will be giving courses to tutor, and then you are responsible for most of the practicals. So that was what also exposed me a lot. And then it made me understood the university culture and how the community work. So from here, it also drew me closer, because as you dream in the academic realm, it never in my life occurred to me that I will ever go beyond university. So again, as you move along, you with good lecturers, with good friends, you start to talk about future. Then from there, it also propped this kind of idea that no, maybe I could do better. So again, I would like to remind you that friendship, true friendship, can also change your life. So one of my former colleagues who was my junior when I was at Amas, he came to Malaysia, was in International Islamic University. So he got me some forms that I should fill the forms and try this Malaysian Technical Cooperation Program. So that was how I took off from Ghana and then had my choice to University of what we call it, International Islamic University. Now here, what I would like to say is, as far as I was concerned, university ranking was not important to me, but I'm going to show you that whether we like it or not, this is becoming very, very important. So you might say it's yes, no, or probably situational. So I found myself in the loop of situational because I had to fix on that opportunity to make a quantum jump. So that was why I took it. And again, from agriculture, where did I go? I just went to what we call library and information science, and I never regretted. I'll come back to that. Now, when you talk about ranking in this current generation or situation that we found ourselves, a number of multinational companies, organizations will advertise a position and they will be ranking. So the top ranking universities will be number one, second will be, the second, third, fourth, and the rest. So this is how they're going to use it. The kind of selection procedure to get people out. Now, why is it so? I will tell you very soon, because this is an impression that had been created. So again, I'm not saying you need to follow, but I can also give you another pathway that if you miss the boat, all is not lost. You can go to another stage that you can even be better, and you could be even fish after. So from here, what I want to tell you is that the doom and the gloom should never scare you. To every, for every problem, there must be a solution. So here, one thing that I did was I maintained my focus. So maintain your focus for a purpose. Very, very important. And learn to control the purpose and not allow the system to control you. Now they say first ranking student, top university. So if you don't go to the top university, will it be the end of your life? Definitely no. This is what I mean by learn to control the purpose and not the system controlling you. So what are the explanations that corporate figures, institutions go for ranking, and then they use that to pick their own preference? There are two theories here. One is human capital, and then there are another one called signaling. So they use these kind of two criteria to do the selection. Now, what do we mean by human capital? What they mean is, they assume that when you go to a top ranking university, it means that your quality, your human quality will be highly enhanced. And then you will be properly trained, whether hard skills or soft skills. So here, they don't need to go into all this because you are already well cooked for the market. So that is their belief. So when you have a good training system, then your productivity to be high. This is the assumption that they use, and this is why they go for the rank, products. Then there's another school of thought where they assume that the market is imperfect. That means that there is nothing stable, nothing perfect there. So the only way they can know that you are good and you can work for them with high productivity is to look for certain signals. And those signals are the student universities that are highly ranked, and they assume that they will prepare you very well. So those are the things that they use to select. So that is what we call signals for productivity. Now I give you a study that really show that this is the direction now. So you see, when the ranking was done, number one is not based on your degree or how much you score, but the school that you went. So here we are talking about the university, so prestige is dominating. I have given you the background. And they are also interested in extracurricular activities. So this is why I feel that this talk is very, very important, because you wouldn't think that it's not only about your degree. Later on, you see so many things are at stake. So here, and look at where your grade will be, or your degree. Your degree is number 3. And you can see that these days, when you go for, interviews or whatever, your grade is just to help you, for you to be screened. The rest will depend on your background. And you can see, they consider employment, standardized test, what you did at last job, career progression, and then they are talking about diversity. So brothers and sisters, what I'm trying to I'm trying to drum into your ears will be that never congregate yourself or just focus on your grades only or on your research work only. It will take you nowhere. Once you get your PhD, you get your master's, after this, even your degree, you will not know where it is. It's what the skills that you learn along the journey, those are the things that are going to really put you in the high level, right? So now, what are the other? These are all societal sanction situations. Others also believe that when you go for a high-ranking university, naturally you will get some respect. Go to Oxford, go to Cambridge, the respect is there. Whether you know much or not is another issue. And even to my surprise, you go to other social media sites, you will see that now, even for you to get married, there are certain groups where only certain elite schools are selected and then get hooked up. So this is what the society is creating. But do you allow the process to really, control you? No, because some of us never went to this, but alhamdulillah, we are trying to make it. So now, what I'm trying to say here is, whether we like it or not, this ranking system is not going away soon. So not in my lifetime, but I don't know your lifetime. So you just have to work your way with some sense of purpose, and then you make it. So we have to be realistic and pragmatic about the situation. No need to brood over it. Whether you believe in it or not, that's a different matter. But what I'm trying to say is, build yourself. Your foundation must be very strong. Any way out, it's not too late. Like I said, just allow your own system, your sense of purpose to control, which means that your interests, just like some of the things that I just shared with you. Now, the other aspect is, if you miss to go to the elite school during your first degree, all is not lost. If you are interested, you can go for postgraduate studies. And that place, the environment is open. Those are the things. So those of you who are privileged to be at the higher level, masters and PhD, this is your time. It is really your time. So, but you must have some sense of purpose. Now, just what I want us to note will be, if you now want to go and make life better, you must have a true purpose that is very clear, and your learning should be something very inspirational. Don't go in because others are going. You must be inspired and must have interest in what you are doing. And then the other aspect will be what? When you are learning with sense of purpose and meaning, you will realize that along the line, as you study, as you grow, you will see that it brings happiness to you. And of course, because you like what you do, you will be able to acquire a lot of knowledge, and you can impact society. So those are the things that should lead you if you want to go to graduate studies. So now I'm moving you to graduate studies, and what are we going to do here? Now, for me, like I told you, I never went to any high-ranking university, but at least these universities too are not bad. In fact, today also they are also in the limelight. I went to International Islamic University, did my library and information science, and that place was the place where I was able to find out, oh, this is where the social sciences, the non-sciences, this is how they do their research, this is how they work. So from there, I learned a lot. And then because I did information science, it helped me to retrieve information, process information, manage it. And it really helped me during my master's and PhD level when I moved to University Putra, Malaysia. Now, so you see, whatever you learn, the skill you learn, you must be able to practicalize it or externalize it. So here, what are the prospects after schooling? Now, let me share a little bit. When you get your prospect, you need to think carefully. If you want to go to the academia, you cannot run from teaching. You cannot run from supervision. So if you are the type of person you're only thinking about your thesis, you get to a certain situation, you will be betrayed, and you will never say, I didn't know, and nobody will forgive you. And you will definitely do research. Your research cannot be shelved in your racks or in your office or in the library. It must be transferred. You should be able to engage in technology transfer. These are the things that will propel you. And apart from that, also, you need to get involved in consultancy work. So as you are a student, if you have your supervisors and you see that they are involved in these kind of activities, I will advise you, whether they pay you, they don't pay you or not, try to be on some of these things. These are the skills you have to acquire. And these ones are not part of your thesis, and you can only come in with what we call it effort. Industrial linkages, extension services, community services, all these things I was able to go through a lot of them. I'm not bluffing you. So from here, what happened? You also have to understand that you will be involved in professional services when you graduate or when you have your degrees. So a degree that cannot provide any professional service is hollow. Expect reference. You claim you are the person in your line, your philosophical construct should be there for people to refer to you. And then you need to also engage nationally and internationally, not only for recognition, but your contribution to speak for you. And then you may also be able to get into national and international collaborations. If you are not in this kind of situation, then I think that you are having what you call non-functional education. So brothers and sisters, this is a serious matter, very dear to me, and we need to take it serious. Those of you who seclude yourself, you keep yourself in your rooms only to your carrels, your what do you call it, laboratories only, is not going nowhere. Please, I'm not trying to cast doom, but that's the reality. Now, what happened to me with all this background, and you can see I was able to wave through the postdoctoral fellowship, from there to senior lectureship, associate professor, and a full professor. So these are the things that when you inculcate, you just establish them, they are going to help you. Now, what is my advice to you? Or let me share with you some of the experiences that you need to go through. If you are already gone through, maybe it's just a reminder. I'm not saying you don't know these things. Now, the first thing you should do when you are going for a postgraduate study is to think about what? The journey is very, very important. It's not a joke. You can buy this kind of certificate, you can contract people. We are talking about the genuine ones. One, your interest. Again, do not let anybody compel you to go against any interest. Otherwise, you might never go higher because the interest will collapse or you will lose the steam. Extremely important. So here, your research topic must excite you. You must have a very, very serious passionate about it. Otherwise, you will lose steam. So the passion should be there. As you get to that level, you will have to also think about your supervisory committee. Extremely important. If you want to learn more and you don't want to be in jeopardy, then it's very important that you think about this. So my advice to you is don't pick at random. You should pick based on expertise and whether your supervisor has experience or not. Because remember, you are an apprentice. An apprentice, before you pass, you must know. Let's say you become a driver. If you're a driver and you don't know how to drive, who will give you license? Of course, don't tell me other parts of the world, something like this. But what I'm trying to tell you is something that you need to know. Now, because it's a committee also, your co-supervisors must also be expert in their field and experience. So it depends on the topic. Each member should play a role, not for friendship or your supervisor just told you this, my friend put him or her. There must be a serious contribution. Now, you also have to have what we call long-term plan. Remember, when you get to postgraduate studies, it's about what? Where your degree will take you to. It's not the end point. Where the degree will take you to. So now, as you are doing your program, you should be able to be having some glimpses, not just like a blind person we do, and then we get there, we will tackle. No, it doesn't work like that. Now, you should know whether your journey is taking you to the academia to be a lecturer or you want to be a research scientist. It should also tell you this is the topics, whether you want to research into, so that you go into policy, environment, NGO, national and international organizations. Where do you want to go? Or you want to go to the corporate world. So you need to lay this foundation right from the beginning. It's not after you finish, then you start to move here and there. Time is precious and you are wasting time. Now, like I told you, you must have interest. So it's a journey. So as you move along the journey in your research or your work, you must enjoy what you are doing. And I can assure you that for me, this is what has keeping me going. I can have a personal problem. When I get to classroom, I can forget everything until I get out. So those are the things. So you should enjoy what you are doing. So what you learn along the journey, not the end point. So it's not like I've started my PhD or I've started my master's. You are just looking at your degree. between the lines, I mean, between point A and point B, you must learn so many things. And these are the skills that are going to sell you later. Remember, you are competing with people from top ranking universities. This is your opportunity to rival them. So now, not joining your, don't think too much about titles, qualifications. To be very honest with you, you will get to a certain point, you become a professor or associate or whatever. It means nothing if you cannot contribute to society. So those titles are just for classification purpose. That's where it ends. So you also have to understand how, if you want to be a researcher, how can you be among the best? It's very, very important. Like somebody said, if you're a sweeper, you must be the best sweeper. And again, if you want to be good in your area, a researcher, can you also be an expert of reference? Extremely important, right? Now also, will you make an impact to the society? Extremely, yes or no, it's up to you. And how do you integrate your knowledge into policies? Your nation needs some policies to be crafted or drafted, and you claim you have your PhD or you are an expert there, and you cannot help your country. You cannot help the society. You cannot help the international community. What kind of knowledge is this? So those are the realities, right? Now, and then ask yourself, are you really prepared for the journey? It's no joke. It's really, really no joke. I'm not scaring you, but if you can go through and get a degree, but we are talking about functional knowledge. So here, it is a good time. Is it a good time for you to take the journey? It's very, very important. And again, ask yourself, are you disciplined? Are you committed? If not, you might end up wasting your time and money in the middle of the journey. And then we must also ask, if you are the kind of person you don't like to read, you don't really like to read and comprehend, then that is not your area. And you must also ask yourself, are you going to research or not? Because there's no way you do postgraduate study. I'm not talking about taught courses. Even taught courses also, you will do project work. You will also do what we call it assignments. These are all, they are in different shades of what? Research. Are you just going to cut and paste from the internet? That will not take you anywhere, right? So are you also committed to scholarly fora? Are you willing to meet people in a very scholarly manner to discuss issue? I mean, intellectual discourse? You have to get yourself into that. On top of all these things, you also have to have some, secluded time for yourself. Of course, not only for your health, but for a reflection as to your direction, what you are doing. Is it in the right way? What did you miss? What you have to add? Those are the things that you need to have a moment for yourself. Now, it's also very, very important that before you start with your supervisor or your supervisory committee, ask them certain probing questions. If they are not able to give you satisfactory answers, my advice to you is better look for someone else. One, ask your potential supervisor, how long are you going to be with the university? Why am I saying this? If, let's say, you get into your PhD degree or master's and your supervisor is going to spend only 1 year, and somewhere along the line you were dumped, or you were in the middle of your PhD and your supervisor leaves, then what is going to happen to you? You will tell me that you will have co-supervisors or whatever. Remember, in the first place, you took your supervisor because he is the expert in that area. Of course, the university will get you a replacement. But what if you are told to redo everything? The next person is telling you, I'm not interested in this topic, you have to redo. Remember, sometimes you will be paying fees. So these are the things. If he say 1 or 2 years, no matter how good the person is, unless he can assure you of a good replacement, you have to be careful. Now you need to also strike the deal right from the beginning. Author public. If you are going to publish, what will be the nature of the publication agreement? Will you be the first author? Will you be the corresponding author? Because some can put their names first or corresponding. You get nothing when it comes to promotion, and you will be doing the toiling. Or sometimes the research project is a huge one. There are others who will have to come in. Will you agree or not? So this must be very, very clear. I have seen a situation where it has turned into a legal battle. It's very important that you iron that one out. Ask the potential supervisor or committee, are they willing to send you to scholarly meetings or not? Very important, because you are not confined only to your laboratories and your what? Your research rooms. You need to expose yourself to the environment to also get gain from others, and also to network yourself. It's very, very important, because your degree cannot sit in your room and network for you. If he or she says no, then you must think twice. Ask another question. Are you hands-on, hands-off type of supervisor? Hands-on means that this is the kind of supervisor who is ever ready to help you at any point in time. I give you myself as an example. I used to get to the lab sometime 11 p.m. Your student call you, I have this problem. Sometimes I have to rush to the lab until 12 midnight, or even sometime until the morning, because you are working together. But if your supervisor is hands-off type, everything is on you, then there is something that is not right. Because you see, when we say independent research, does not mean that you cannot even consult your supervisor to guide you, because he is an expert. So this is what I'm trying to say. If he's hands-off, advise yourself. Ask your potential supervisor again the number of students graduated or average completion duration. Very important. You shouldn't be the guinea pig. Never be the first student. It's not your problem. It's his or her problem to find out more students and graduate them on time. So be careful. These things can weigh you down. And then you also have to know what is the number of current students. It should give you a signal whether this person really is on top of his work or not. Now, once you ask these questions, assuming you have got right supervisors or whatever, there are certain attitudes that you should never show them. Very, very important. The first thing is never try to show some sort of what? Try to be disrespectful to your supervisors as much as you can. If you disagree, if you are disturbed, you must have a way of putting it. Very important. And then also remember that when you are given a task, sometimes we give you task to test you. So don't be upfront of saying not possible, cannot be done. No, have can do kind of attitude. Even if you cannot do it, say it in a way, I'm not very sure, but I think that I will try and I'll give you my best. Sometimes we know you cannot do it 100%. It's just a way to test you, because you will go to the real world too. So these are the things. And then another thing that you shouldn't do, you should try to do, is to control your emotions. And never try to share too much of your domestic or your personal issues with your supervisor. You see, the level is at a professional level. We will understand when you have some domestic problem or whatever, but it shouldn't be a point of engagement. So don't let them feel like you need that kind of attention. That if you are not emotionally stable, remember, there will be a camp that you will be recommended for a job. These things will start to feature in your recommendation. And I don't need to tell you this, academia is associated with honesty. If you go for any academic fraud or dishonesty, it will weigh you. Everything will crumple. And then we should also do not cancel appointment with your supervisors unless you have a very genuine reason. And even that also, you must give them prior information. If it's emergency, it's understood. Don't let it be your habit. Otherwise, it might be felt that you are giving flimsy excuses because you are not able to honor your work. So please take care of that and notify your supervisors before meeting them. Don't just walk into their rooms. Notify them. It also inculcates this kind of habit of being very professional when you are working with people. And then the other aspect will be very punctual. It's really unfortunate that most of you were late for 30 minutes. If you were in my class or you were my students that I supervise, the first thing that they know is once you are late 1 minute, you don't see me. When we say 2 o'clock, 2 o'clock means be in the room before 2. That is what it means. Because if you are not punctual, you are not disciplined. So these are the realities. Small things can really, really ruin you. So it's very important. I give you an example. My own former PhD student and my former PhD student became a head of department in a faculty. So they wanted to engage this, my former student. So I was called to give a recommendation. So what should I do? She's a very brilliant student, publishing very good journals. But the key thing that I highlighted to them was that she's never punctual. She underestimates time. So if you are willing to take her or to work, it's up to you. But this part you need to know, because if I'm recommending, I cannot lie. So I have to write the truth. So these are the things that you have to be very, very careful. We really have to change in these kind of things. And then be a good listener. Be a good listener. If you don't, you will miss a lot of things that if you keep repeating the mistakes, then that's it. For me, I give you 3 chances. 1, 2, 3, finish. So it's very, very important. And when you meet them, take notes. Don't sit down and be nodding your heads. You cannot keep everything in your mind. And remember, behind the scenes, some of us will have individual files for you. So whatever I discuss with you, your attitude, I will file it. And one day for your recommendation or during your viva, these are the things that we are going to check on you. So please, let's be very careful here. And then dress properly, dress for the right occasion. If you are going to the field, dress like somebody who is going to the field. If you are going to office, dress like somebody. In the lab, dress. So it's very important. I don't need to tell you this. Observe personal hygiene. All these things will weigh against you. Very, very important. And then we also have to look into when your supervisor give you work. Sometimes it has nothing to do with your what? Your PhD or your master's work. Remember, it's an apprenticeship. We want you to be all-rounded. So certain things that you think they are not in your favor, you still have to do, because at least you will learn something. So don't show that kind of disinterest. Remember, you will need them at a certain point in time. And do not ignore the expectations of your supervisors. Once you disappoint them, it will be very difficult for them to help you. And don't let them class you like you are a non-entity, and don't create false impressions. Now, you should kindly mind your words. Later on, I will show you some few things. I really want us to share so many things. Your choice of words will be very, very important. Some could land you into trouble. Let me give an example. Just last week, we were invited for consultancy work, and it's like we are going to bid for a big project. And those who were introducing the project to us, can you imagine in a formal setting, all that we keep hearing, you guys, you guys, you guys, you guys. You see, in a formal setting, these are not the kind of words that you should use. So when we finished, our group decided to back out. We cannot work with this kind of people with this kind of attitude. It's not because we want to be formal, but you don't even know how to address people. Then how can you assure me that your work is going to be very, very of high quality? Definitely no. So we back out. And then put your best without expecting praises. I have had a number of students who normally they just want to praise, they want praises, so they want to show you that they are doing great. We are not looking for these things. We have our own pointers to see. So please do not do these kind of things. And then do not make your I think it's very amazing. Some students will feel that without you, supervisors cannot meet on. I mean, you see, it's a mutual thing, win-win. So if you make it like without you, your supervisor cannot go. Remember that students come, students they go out. So you don't have to make yourself a demigod. You will be at the losing end, even though your supervisor may lose, but you will lose more. And then try as much as you can to keep trust and confidentiality. You see, we are observing you. I give you an example. When during my master's and PhD, I held two offices. My co-supervisor and my main supervisor, they all gave me their office keys. I can go there and then use the office as much as I can, but I made sure that when I'm in the office, Never, if even it's a water bottle put in the table on the table, you never touch it. Now, there was a time there was a break-in. They broke into my supervisor's office and stole some valuable items. Now, among all the supervisory committee and the laboratory and the department, they vowed for me that I will never do this. They brought police with cameras to check, and at the end of the day, they found out that it was an outsider. You see, the credibility that you have is, these are the reasons why they never suspected me and I never did it. There are so many ways to test you about trust and confidentiality. So you have to be careful. I personally was tested with ladies. I never fell to that. So you have to be very careful. It can come in different ways, right? Now, the next thing will be, please do genuinely without expecting returns. God will reward you, and your rewards will come at the time that you least expected it. I remember when I was doing my PhD, my father fell sick and I had no money to go home. It was this supervisor whom I used to work with, bought bicycle for me. I used to go to the greenhouse, do work for him. He was the one who bought plane ticket for me from here to go to Ghana, and then gave me some pocket money. Just simple things that I was doing. So sometimes the help will come in a different way. So please, don't look for returns when you do good job. Now, the next part is, unless political issue, religious, tribal, and racial issues are part of your research work, don't engage your supervisors in this. It's not really relevant. You are there for a purpose. Get on to that. Now, how would you know that this kind of supervision is really not good? You see, one thing that you need to understand before you pick a supervisor, also check the qualification. There are these kind of supervisors where when they were doing their first degree, they were just average scorers. Now, average scorer means that you are having maybe like you have less than 3.0 CGPA, and then somehow you manage to find your way out and you went direct to do a PhD. So in certain areas, you will see that if you don't have second class lower, you will never be allowed to teach. But these kind of people, if they don't have the foundation, normally they will not be able to supervise you well. I'm not saying that, but there are these kind of situations that you need to be careful. We may discuss more later. And then these kind of people, they join the academia just because they want a good job and a safety net. So it's not because of scholarship. So this kind of supervision you need to avoid. And then you also have to be very careful with a supervisor that criticizes you too much unnecessarily. Just criticism is the order of the day. It's different, nagging here and there. No. And the other thing is criticizing you not constructively. That is not a good kind of supervision. And then we also have to look into your supervisor never praises your good work. Whatever you do is never ever recognized. This is very, very demotivating, and it can cause you depressed. We need to be very careful. It can depress you at any point in time. And then the same kind of supervisor never help you step by step. Like I told you, when I used to come to midnight or whatever, sometimes I have to come and show them how to use a machine, how to prepare a chemical, how to calibrate a system. These kind of things, if you teach your student, it's not because the student is weak. Maybe it's in the formative stage. You are in the formative stages. So you need to prop that kind of situation. So it's very, very important. And then now we also have to be very, very what? You see these kind of supervisors, they are extremely formal. Sometimes they are extremely formal because they don't want you to see their weaknesses, that they don't know much. So these are the things. And then they are what? They only give you some short comments. Very, very unhelpful. You give them work, they just underline the work. They don't tell you the problem. They don't help you to put the language in a better way. This can be very frustrating. So you need to be careful. And then they are always serious and bossy, because for them, the degree is like they are on top of the world, and then you must be like a slave. This is not the way, because you see, in this kind of supervision, it is more mutual thing. So it's more like comradeship. So that is what we need to do. And not also here, you can see that not comforting you. Maybe you be in a situation, you went to the lab or you did a survey, things are not working well. Instead of him, you see, when you are a supervisor, when things are not getting well, you must muster the courage and tell the person that we know where we are going. These are part of research. The ups and downs will come. And then it makes you feel like you are nothing. Cannot be like this. I quite remember it during my PhD, one of the key experiments of mine was failing, so I had to call for an emergency meeting. So all my supervisors came, we sat down for almost 2 hours, there was no solution. But I remember what they told me, that keep searching, we will also search, whatever the situation we are in together, we will let you go alone. It took me 1 month in the lab doing this until the day that I found it out. And until today, because of this, it has really built me and my relationship, because the time that I needed them, they were there for me. They encouraged me until I found the solution. So these are the kind of supervision you should have. Now, another type of this, another funny situation will be, you see, when you are a teacher, a lecturer, what some of you are not aware is that we are on 24 hours on call. That is why we don't have overtime. No lecturer is paid overtime. You get it? Our time is very, very flexible. So if you need something, you call your supervisor on the phone at the right time, you can chat on it. It can be online, it can be email, text messages at the right time. You can do that. But these kind of supervisors, once they leave office, it's off until they come to office. It doesn't work like this, because this is research. Anything can happen. And most of the cases where you email them, text them, they'll tell you, I don't want to talk, you see me face to face. Sometimes they are scared. They don't want to betray themselves. That's why everything, how can everything be face to face? Yes or no answer. We don't want to meet face to face. All right. So now the next part, very strange, sees you as a competitor. For me, my students, I keep telling them, now you see, you are specializing in this area. My role is to guide you, is to shape you, is to nurture you. But at the end of your PhD or master's, you should know better than me in that area. If I still know better than you in that area, it means you have not progressed and you don't deserve your degree, because you are my image. And I'll be very proud of you for you. I mean, if you are tomorrow somewhere, I'll be very, very proud. So here, they don't see you as a collaborator, but as a competitor. Very, very unfortunate. And then they will never introduce you to the scientific community. As a supervisor, you should introduce your own students to the community for them to see the culture, have a feel, so that their talent will come out. You alone cannot shape them. And some of them also, when you meet others to discuss your work, it's like it's a taboo. They are not happy with that. How can it be? Academia is full of knowledge. People look at things from different angles. This is the spirit of scholarship. And then they are very self-centered. Avoid this kind of supervisors. Right. Now, these kind of supervisors also will have very poor record, I mean, in journals. Publications in high impact journal will be zero, because they don't want you to know. If you don't want your student to come up, how are you going to get this, your publication? Very poor record. And now also here, like I said, cross-check and see whether these kind of people, do they have publications? I'm not talking about new lectures. I'm talking about well-established lectures. They claim they are professors or whatever. You need to check for the last, 5 or 10 years, do they have imperfecta of 5 or not? If you accumulate for 5 years, you don't have imperfecta of 5 years, and then you say you're a professor. What is their age index? We need to know. This will tell us who is who. We also have to find out whether they have research grants or not. If they are poor in research grant, that tells you something is not working out properly, right? And then we also have to check. Students do not graduate on time. Now in the universities, if you graduate on time, you are given even a certificate. You want to miss this kind of certificate? And then check also whether at least five of his or her students have graduated in less than 5 years. Why do you want to do your PhD in 10 years? Why do you want to do your PhD in more than 5 years? I can assure you that for me, in my lifetime, PhD level was the easiest for me. The A level was the toughest for me. You see, when you build a foundation and you know exactly what you are doing, as you move on, it becomes easier and easier, right? Now, the next part is very poor network. They have no network. So if they don't have good network, how do they connect you? And then the next thing is no international and national collaboration. How would you grow? So these are the realities that you need to look into. Now, what about the good supervision? Ladies and gentlemen, I think you need to bear with me because we lost 30 minutes. I need to gain back that time. Dr. Mutaka, you don't mind? Hello?
Yes, you can go ahead. You can go ahead.
Okay.
We are enjoying this.
Okay, so now what kind of supervision are we expecting? So we are talking about good supervision. If you talk about good supervision, there is always a mutual respect. And you can be friends, but you know your level. You get in that realm. And then they must be able to inspire and create ideas for students to extend. So when you come in early at your early stages, we need to create that environment, and then we will prop your your talent, and then you will start contributing, and together we move. But it is our responsibility to ignite you, for you to go. Now it is also a means of what? You provide means for success. So it is up to us now. We have to lay the platform for you to try. So your success is our success, your failure is our failure, unless you decide to fail yourself. I will talk about that later. And then these kind of supervisors are always eager to monitor your work at any point in time. My first PhD student, what I used to do, you have to report to me morning, afternoon, evening, whether you like it or not. So those are the kind of things. So every day I need to know your progress. Every week I need to know. We have to have monthly meetings to see what is going on so that we can salvage you. And then it's a teamwork, a very big cooperation. Sometimes I'll have some emergency thing, even until now. Zoom, we have crisis. Let us sit down. You do this. What is the issue? You get it. You move along. This is how it is done. Now, let me break them down to you also. They are the kind of people who will always motivate you, but very, very sincere. They will encourage you. And then you might have discrepancies. I have a lot of discrepancies with my students, but once we iron it out, we forget it and we move on. Once I say I'm okay, I don't keep it too hard because there are more important things. And as a supervisor, don't expect to win. It's not competition. It's an exchange of ideas. So those are the things. Remember, this kind of generation of yours, you are highly intelligent, but the difference between us and you is just the experience. So that is where we have to harmonize things together and we move on. So your knowledge, we should be able to, train you so that it's not only on your thesis, so that whatever you learn, you can impact it. You can transfer knowledge to the society. If you are not able to do this, we have failed. What is scholarship when it cannot be used? And then here also, we have to project you. Until today, I'm very, very proud of my former supervisors and my research counterpart. My supervisor used to project me when I never expected it until today, even though he was not all my supervisory committee, none of them, only one became a professor. But until today, they are very proud of me. When we meet, I still give them the respect, and I never feel the gap. I don't feel that kind of hostility or whatever. So please, this is the way. And your relationship with your supervisor should be until thy kingdom come. It's not because you just get your PhD, then you just, sever your ties with your former supervisors. Remember, that is not a good thing to do. This could be an ungratefulness. And remember, you can still need some collaboration. Just recently, I had a letter from University of Ghana. One of my former students just went home. Now what? He applied for lectureship. Now they came back to me. Remember, your supervisor is the key. Whatever he says about you will negate you. But this is a student that I trained, very well, trained him. He went there, and even by the time he finished the interview, they already giving him courses. These are the things. He called me for 1 hour. We were talking. I was so happy, like I'm the one who got the job. These are the things that we want our students to go through. Right. Now, what are the skills that every postgraduate student must have. What are they? These are the skills. One, you must be very good in organizing your research work or your program. Very, very good in that. Without organization, forget it. You must have this critical ability, critical thinking ability. You must be very critical, because that is all that scholarship is about. What I'm telling you here, if you just take it because I'm a professor or I'm your teacher, I'm teaching you without processing it, then you are not being critical, because I can teach you something that is wrong. Just last week, I was teaching some calculations with my students, and the PowerPoint slide, instead of 0.2, I gave another example and I wrote 0.3 online. One of the students was able to pick it and told me that, I think this is not right, this is a mistake. I admitted that it was a mistake, and I gave him a bonus mark of 5 marks for finding out my mistake and then bold to correct me. This is what we want. And then the next one will be good communication skills. If you cannot communicate your ideas, you cannot communicate your data, you cannot communicate your findings, it goes nowhere. And you know, in the academia, we work with the brains. So sometimes it's always normal to be, stressed up. You may get stressed up, but you have to know how to manage stress. And you also have to learn how to learn. I'll tell you what we mean by how to learn. Now, well organized, what do we mean? You are going to do your research work, so you must have a master list of your activities. Don't just stand up, oh, today I want to do this, tomorrow I want to do this. Research is never done like that. It's a systematic way of discovering new things. So we need this. And then once you have the list, we have to know what you want to do, or what you have to do at what time, which place, using which kind of environment. Very, very important. And then once you have your master list, you need to break the list into daily or weekly tasks. I believe in weekly, others believe in daily, but I don't believe in monthly. It will be too late. And then when you do this, it's very, very important that you limit your unnecessary online kind of social media things that you do online. Online should be able to help you to make good use of the resources, not to waste your time there. Extremely important. And then keep information in your folders. Label your folders and then put whatever information, describe it and put it there. Because sometimes for you to retrieve information can take you half a day. If you have done information science, then you understand what I mean by information retrieval and processing. We don't have time to waste. We are always on our toes. Now, critical thinking. Whatever information you have, check the credibility. You don't just imbibe it anyhow. And then you should have the skills. You see, in this kind of world now, we have information overload. So the one that is able to retrieve the right information and process it, package it, these are the ones that are moving on. Look at Facebook and all sorts of things. You see the way they change photos into all sorts of things. So this is the way things are going. This is why now we have something called big data. We have information science, and then we have science communication, all this. So once you get the information, break it down into pieces and try to study them. When you do that, we say you are analyzing the information. You get it? Once you analyze the information, you will get pointers. Very important pointers, then you synthesize them together. So once you synthesize them, then you can make a story. This is what we want from students. And I can tell you that I have found that a number of students are weak in critical thinking and the way they analyze things and synthesize. What am I trying to tell you? This is where you're going to have problem with your resource and discussion in your thesis. This is where you are going to have problem with your justification. You may not have the flair of doing literature, good literature review. So those are the realities. Now, what do we mean by good communication? Of course, we know we are talking about formal and informal, but we are interested in spoken and written. And you can see that a number of students, I'll show you very soon, very poor in writing, not the English language per se. We are talking about specialized type of language where even the native speakers will have to learn. That is the academic language. Those are the things that we are talking about. And please be a good listener. In certain parts of the world, if you allow people to repeat many, many times, that means that you are not ready for the job. So please, let's look into it very carefully. How do you handle stress? First, you need to know that stress in the academia is a natural reaction. It's a natural reaction that you react to pressing needs. So when you see something like that, I'm not talking about depression. I'm not qualified to talk about that. So here is different from depression. And then train yourself to manage your own stress, because each person has his own level of stress, and then how your body will react to it. I don't have permanent solution, and then I don't have a broad spectrum solution. But what I can tell you is, if you are being a disciplined person and you do things at the right time, I think your stress will be lower. For me, example, when I was a student, I never studied during the exams time, exam week until midnight. I follow right from day one. I will be very consistent. So exam or no exam, my level of studying is the same. By some, they will compile everything until maybe 1 or 2 days you cram. When you fall sick, then that is where you realize it. So those are the things that I can share with you. Now, what do? If you are really hard pressed, maybe you go for your needs first. Let's say like you are submitting your work to your supervisor. Today is the due date, but you think that you cannot submit, and then maybe you need to attend to a very pressing whatever. Write to your supervisor, tell him that you cannot because of this problem. So go solve that problem and come back. And those who are normally stressed will be those who do last minute work. Avoid that, please. Now, learn how to learn. What do we mean? You must adapt yourself to lifelong learning. You don't learn things that you cannot apply, and you just learn for a small thing. It must cut across your life. That is what we call learn how to learn, and it must be smart. So here, if you want to do that, it's not only about your thesis. You must learn certain skills that are for the present and the future, besides your own specialization. So what do I mean? These are some of the emerging areas. Learn to understand others. Extremely important. And then you must be current to the situation. It's not only your work, your environment. You can imagine here now we have problem with COVID-195, and you keep telling them that because you are not a science student, you don't want to know the theoretical background, the courses, how. These are the things. You need to be current, and then have some media skills. Don't abuse them. Use them properly. And then you see we have emerging technologies are coming. Even in agriculture now we are talking about smart farming, where we are using state-of-the-art technologies. So you also have to look into your field. Digital economy, whether we like it or not, industrial revolution is fading away. We are in a digital economy now. You need to know something about it. Even though I don't like economics, I have to understand the basics. That's why sometimes I disturb Dr. Mutaka to tell me so many things. And then here also, you need to know business models. Can you imagine now, even we write proposals or we write our research findings, we need to have some economic touch, the economic viability. Now you say you have product, technology, you want to give it to the people, and the industry, or you want to bid for grants. You have to have a business model, so it cuts across. So these are the things that you need to learn. Things are changing. Learn them together with your PhD or your master's. They will enhance you a lot. Now, things to do at the early stages of your program, what are they? Have a diary. Don't tell me you have computer, whatever. But in the academia, you must have a notebook. So this is what we call diary, where you can keep a lot of things. Until today, you come to my office, I will show you my research diaries. They are all intact. These are something very valuable, where you write every important aspect of your research work or your program. Now, know how to use typesetting softwares so that you can use it for your thesis and papers, so that you don't do too many manual things. There are so many, mentally, so many things. You have to find them out yourself. And then have a file. I'll come back to this, where you have your references, very relevant references to your work. You need to get them and keep them. Later, I'll tell you why I'm saying this. I think it is academically unacceptable for you to be in your area and you don't know the frontiers of your area. You don't know who is who in your area. You don't know who is leading the research. Who are the groups? You need to know, because in your thesis, we will check whether those authorities, you are able to get access to their work or not. If no, then it means that your work has no value. So it's very, very important. you also, whether you like it or not predatory journals. We are talking about flagship journals, because when you talk about postgraduate study, it's more to reading what? Scholarly papers. Not all this kind of newspaper and simple or internet kind of uncredible. No, we want credible sources. You need to know. And you yourself, by the end of your training, you should be able to publish in some of these flagship journals that are in your area. Now, again, you have certain routine work that you need to do. From the day that you started to do your PhD until the day you leave, or the day your master's or whatever, these are the routine things. Keep daily activity book. You have your activities. Now you have them. You know the relevant information. Normally, sometimes you wake up, you will get new ideas, very exciting. Don't keep them to your head. Even you are dreaming, wake up, write them in, because the tendency of you to forget is very high. And then you must also have, this is what you call daily notes. I'm talking about daily. I'm not talking about monthly or weekly. So daily notes, what you need to do, you wake up today. Don't tell yourself, okay, this morning I'm going to do this. By the time you wake up, you should know. So you should know what is it that you want to do, what you have not done, what you'll be doing or whatever. And you must have plan A, B, C for every morning. If today this A doesn't wake up, you must have a replacement. Don't come and say today it didn't wake up, you fold your back and you go home. You are wasting your own time. A time loss is never, again. And then now, at least as a postgraduate student, it is unacceptable for you not to be reading papers. Make it a habit. At least one paper a day will be enough for you. If you cannot at least have a paper, I can imagine you say you are an academician or you are a postgraduate student and you don't read papers. How are you going to make it? Now, how do you read good papers? Don't waste your time. There are so many papers around. Get to keywords. Look at the title. Read 1 or 2 minutes. Get the abstract. Right away from the abstract, go to the conclusion. If you really, if you are serious, you will know whether this paper is relevant or not before even you read the rest of the paper. These are the things. And then you must read and comprehend. You read and comprehend properly, not for fun or not for leisure. This is not a storybook. You need to sit up and read and understand and critically examine, analyze, and synthesize. Very, very important. And then remember, no long list of activities at the early stages because you don't know much. Once you start to create so many activities, it means you don't know what you are doing. So these are the things that you have to be very, very, straightforward with. And then we also have to what? Separate the what? The wheat from the chaff. We don't want what we call a garbage, excuse me to say. We want only relevant things. So don't go to the library, you see this, you print. You see online, you print. You are wasting resources. Print only things that you're going to read that are relevant to your area. That is it. That's all. Work smart. All right. So here, your notes that you are writing, you write them according to your understanding. If you don't do that, this is where plagiarism comes in. You will see, you will hear some of the students will say, no, the language is so good that if I change it to change the meaning, it means you didn't understand the content. Because if you understand the content, write it the way you understand. We will help you to improve the language. And note what? Only relevant information. Now, what else do we need? You need to learn important skills along your journey. What are these? Remember, these are your prospects. Data analysis techniques. There are so many softwares that you need to know and you need to use them in your analysis. I wish, depending on your response, actually I was going to do series for you. Research, methodology, techniques in writing, techniques in analyzing data, so many, but I think that some of you are not interested and your attendance is not encouraging at all. And you must also know how to present your data presentation. I'm not sure. You have to understand that the way you communicate your data can carry a lot of meaning and it can also weigh you down. Do we know when to use figures, tables, bar chart, pie chart, all sorts of things? They all have their strengths and weaknesses. You should know when you use this, when you should not use that, which one will make your work very, very straightforward and the clarity is there. oral presentation skills. Remember when I told you that we went for this bidding and this person was telling her, you guys, we lost interest. So you can't do this in any formal, what we call it, setting, especially in your Viva. That can really, really put you into trouble because you are being trained. And then avoid bad writing. How do you avoid it? Remember, I'm not talking about literary types of writing. I'm talking about scientific writing. So there's a kind of structure that we use. So if you are not sure, you may give some of the work to your colleagues for them to check and see whether the idea that you have, that you are writing, does it make sense or not? Your supervisors, subject specialists, and don't be too sensitive. If you want honest comments, you are not going for praises. Go, let them say this is not good, you need to improve, it's fine. You will improve upon it. And then we must also look into what we call giving credence to your work. So if you are claiming something, it must be credible. So if you're going to be credible, then you must use scientific vocabulary. When I say scientific, it does not mean when you are in the social sciences. I'm talking about academic kind of talking. Every academic environment has its own thesaurus, control vocabulary that you have to use. I will show you some of them very soon. So you need to look into that. Now, slowly, you are now going in to read your research papers. Remember, you targeting to write your proposal, your literature review, all sorts of things. So now let me give you pointers. When you read research papers, how do you read them? First, reading, you must have reasons for reading. Some may read for getting information on paper writing or for thesis writing. So your approach or your focus is different. Some may also read because they want to write a literature review or proposal. I'm talking about you as academicians. And then some also, like some of us sometimes, we want to read to be current and know what is happening in our field. So it depends on where you are, but I think some of you will be following maybe literature review, proposal, you are talking about thesis or whatever. Of course, those who are working, you are in the current knowledge aspect. So those are the things. Now, you know why you are reading. So you have the paper or you have many papers. You have to qualify them. Oh, this paper will fit into this part of my work. This paper is talking about this. This is how I'm going to pull out these pointers, and this is how it goes. So, not worth reading, you put them somewhere. Any paper that you think that you read, they have nothing to do your work, don't waste your time. What did I tell you just now? Title, keywords, abstract, conclusion. Then you focus only on those that are relevant to your work. Now, from here, for beginners, if you are a beginner and you are not used to reading technical or maybe academic papers, normally you might find it difficult because remember, when you see a paper in a very good journal, remember they assume a lot of background information. This is not a kind of textbook, information or introductory book. So you will have that kind of background problem, but don't worry, with time, things might become clearer. And then sometimes you might find it difficult to even comprehend models, figures, tables, because they are very condensed, and one figure can even give somebody a PhD. So long as the contribution is there, the significance is there, the impact is there. So we understand, but you need to inculcate it. This is how you need to communicate with your supervisors. And then the condensed detail will be, it will be what? It will be decoded for you as you move on. Now, how then do we read? This is the way to read a journal paper or technical paper. One, the paper must fit in the bigger picture of your work. Any paper that you think that it doesn't fit in your work, discard it. Don't waste your time. What did I just say? It must have a key contribution to your work or significant contribution. Then you focus on it. Remember, postgraduate time is very precious, and look for key assumptions of the work. Remember, when you are writing your literature review, you are going to look for a gap for you to fill. So the gaps, these are the pointers, assumptions, because some assumptions can be valid, or not. And then we can find out whether these assumptions are contradiction, because you want to punch a hole and then where you capitalize. So in a very, very professional way. And then you also have to look at the paper. What are the processes, the one you call procedures, methodology, how does it work well? So all these things must be very clear to you. Then as you progress, then you start to work them out one by one. So what do we see now? First, if the paper fits your title, how do we go about it? Note exactly where it fits. Does it fit in your problem statement? Does it fit in your hypothesis? Does it fit in your procedures? Or can it help you to interpret your data somewhere to come? Will it even be good for your what? Your methodology aspect? So later on, we'll talk about that. So the essential fit must be there. And then we also have to look at some could be found in the abstract. So you go there and then check in the abstract. Some could also be found in the discussion part. Remember, now you are reading the paper. Go there and find out. Sometimes you need only a paragraph from the paper to align to your work. So those are the things. Go to the conclusion and then match it with the objectives. You will get something out of it. Now, what else can we say? Go back to the assumptions, because you are trying to find a niche. Go back to the assumptions. Are there assumptions? What are the main assumptions? We'll find out. Once you see the main assumptions, sometimes they put hidden assumptions. Sometimes they do some work and there are negative aspects or the drawbacks that they don't want you to see. Get them. Once you get them, they might help you. And then you must also check whether the assumptions are valid or not. Once they are not valid, you have a point. So this is the way you subject the paper to critical scrutiny. And then at the end of the day, can you really challenge the assumptions or not? If you can, then it means that you are filling a gap. And you will see why I'm saying this. Now, from here, what do we do? If you look for contradictions, did the author really contradict themselves on a point or not? If you can get it, note it down. Now, did the key work of the author contradict others? Now, they are talking about their key findings. How are they consistent with what is known? If they remember, when we say contradict, it can be new findings or it can be disproving something. So this is where you have to find your fit. And then we must also know these contradictions, are they well established or not? If they are well established, you don't have to waste your time on that. Now, excuse me, there is a background. Shall we mute it a little bit? Right. So can the contradiction be challenged or not? So you see, basically, as you start to read this way, you are finding your what? You are gravitating towards your what? Your contribution. Now, the next thing will be the procedure. Sometimes when a paper is published and the procedure or the processes are flawed, you don't bother yourself with conclusions and whatever, because they can never be valid. So are the processes valid to justify conclusions or claims? If not, forget about it. And then can the conclusions or the claims, assuming they are right, can they be challenged or not? I just give you an example. When I was doing my PhD, we published a paper, and this paper was more to resource economics, because some part of my work was on resource economics, so I had to take a course. So when we published this, on pineapple, the first kind of it where we try to introduce what we call crop insurance. So these were the propositions that we pick on. So after I did that, after 2 or 3 years, I got a special letter from US asking us that if we have not pursued those kind of areas, they want to pursue. So you see, you have created an environment for somebody to also create and then do more research. So this is what I'm trying to say here. So now, these claims, can they be confirmed or not? Let's say somebody has come out with a testing procedure. They have given you the scenario, but they have not done the test, and you feel that you need to do it. Though you are not the originator, if you did the test and you find something interesting, that is your contribution. So those are the things that you may be also looking into. Can you even modify what is being said and then make it better or not? Extension of knowledge. This is where you get the gap. So these are some of the things that you need to understand. Now, when you do this, remember, the paper that you read, write a paragraph on the background of the paper. And then from there, what do? All the pieces that I have told you, bring them together. You synthesize. Then you will have the gap. This is how you do your literature search. It's not factors of this you write, like a textbook time. No, it's more to argumentative. I'll come down to that later. So then you integrate the pieces, and then you write concise sentences, and then that's where you are. So that paper alone, that is how, it's more or less like that you are doing dissecting. You dissect every part and then bring them together later, the important ones. Now, I do understand sometimes you read the paper, a certain aspect you don't understand because you have not get deeper into this, the profession. Don't worry, keep reading. With time, things will be clearer. Number two, if possible, focus on the content of the paper, not the references. That one later. Don't waste your time. You haven't understood the paper itself. Why you want to go and read other references? Get it done first. Later on, you go to those references. Now, as you read, some of the things may not be clear. So you write them down in a form of questions. Write a letter or an email to the, what do you call it, the authors. Professionally, they will reply you and tell you the things that you couldn't understand. And that one itself builds your network and also broaden your scope. Now, where are we now? Now then come to the literature review. You hear students literature review, I don't know. First, you need to understand what is a literature before we go to literature review. As far as we academicians are concerned, they are just another form of scholarly writing or scholarly way of reading other people's work and see how relevant they are to your work or not. This is all that we look for in the literature. We are not talking about the literary meaning of the literature that you know. So when we say literature, what are our literature? I mean, we have what we call journal papers, conference papers, technical reports, theses, books, manuals. This is where we confine ourselves. We don't care about newspapers and whatever. We don't go for things that can be very, very subjective and it's not scholarly. Now, the literature review itself is not just for you to be copying somebody's idea or from here you bring them together. If you do that, you are doing documentation. Anybody can do that. So what is a literature review? The basic idea about literature review is to identify a literature or a paper in your field of research. Evaluate the paper to find out 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 10 papers to find out where the gap is. You get what I'm saying? Of course, because you are reading with intention of finding a gap so that you will fill the gap. That is all that literature review is about. So you don't go and be talking about unnecessary things. As you read, you are just finding the gap. Okay, the gap, until you see, you are convinced this is a gap. Oh, this excites me. I want to do. That's it. Finish. That's all that literature review is about. So now, what are the connections? Your literature review is the heart of your work. Once you miss it, forget it. This is it. If you want to justify your work without knowing the literature, there's no way you can justify your work and your contribution will be hollow. How are you going to justify your work? What will be the processes involved when you don't know the existing methodology? You don't know how to go about the procedures. How are you going to give credence to your work? Without the literature also, how do you discuss or how do you interpret your work? You need the literature. In fact, on a technical term, you need the literature to focus your conclusions and recommendations. So the literature review is something that is very basic, and you find students, you see students take 1 year to write literature review. What kind of literature? That tells us that you don't know what you are writing. So these are the things. Now, why do we write the literature? You write the literature to tell people that you have known something about the field and you have extracted a gap, and the gap is original and your contribution is significant and it can create an impact. So when you read the literature, you don't find a gap and the gap is not original, you are just copying. Forget it. This is not a PhD work. It's never a scholarly work. It's just a documentation. Now, review of the literature. What are the steps? First, you have to have keywords. These keywords must come from your work that you want to do, and the keywords should be able to fish out papers for you. So sometimes if you are not familiar with the area you are new, your supervisor should be able to give you keywords because they are experts in that area. I just gave one of my potential PhD students just 3 days ago a new topic to go and research in. So the student came to me and I gave him some readings. He came the next day, give him the pointers, and then go find journals and read, and we discuss. So as a supervisor, you must be able to control that. Sometimes you might go online. There are a number of online tools that can help you to find keywords. And what are we looking for in keywords? You see, you need to have good keywords so that you will be able to access papers that might have escaped you, even though you read the journal of less interest. So when sometimes the title may escape you, but the keywords is another frontier to help you to pull out the paper. So keywords are very, very important. It will take me almost 3 hours to teach you how to write keywords. Keywords should never appear in your title. If your keywords appear in your title, then you don't know what keywords are about. Right. So here also a paper with a title that is not very noticeable, only the way for us to pull it out will be your keywords. So maybe the journal that you read is not something you read often, but you type a keyword. Let's say you are in economics, I mean agriculture, but maybe I did something on agri-economics. The keyword, even though you are in economics, it can come to agriculture and pick the paper for you. So this is the rule. I'll keep the keywords here and move on to something else. Now, finding a literature and a research means that you need to know how to use advanced search. This is what helped me when I went to UIA to do information science. You see, it's not this kind of Google type of search. You type anything, you get 1,000, 100,000 kind of search. We don't have time for this. Go for advanced search, Boolean operators, and all kind of things. Most of the databases will have advanced search. So you go there, example, ProQuest, Science Direct, they all have them, AgroColor and whatever. You go there and then you use them. Now, first, what you need to do, if you want to qualify the literature, read the title. I'm repeating again, abstract, conclusion, that's all. During your literature search, that is A. Now, when you go for B, what do? Look for high impact papers. That should be your priority because they are the ones that are having the current information and the cutting edge technology. So you look for them. Now, you also have to look for renowned researchers who are considered as authorities, who have very good papers. You need to read these kind of papers. Focus less on conference papers. They are of low quality. 1 or 2 or 3 is enough. Technical reports, not much. PhD thesis, not much. If you are in the scholarly environment, the journals you read are very, very important. No low-grade kind of journals, papers. Now, we also have to look at C, group the papers that you are reading now, because there are so many of them. Group number 1 should be label them relevant. Group number 2 might be relevant. Group number 3, not relevant. So if it's not relevant, you discuss the non-relevant and you keep only the 2. Relevant might be relevant because you are still not 100% sure. So once that is done, then you subject the papers to a serious scrutiny because you want to build a story. That story will hinge on what you call the gap that you are trying to fill. So how does it work? So here, you have to understand the story. Once you understand the story, what do you have to ask yourself? Where the discussion is heading. We need to know what are the issues and how is the research progressing. Once you can get this, you are already getting to the point where you are going to get the gap. Now, once you have this story created, now you need to group the papers again. Which of them are futuristics? Which of them will look very, very current for the current situation and the past? Remember, you need some background information to get into the present and then project into the future. And then place the papers in terms of current and old, please. But it should be more to current than old. But if you have renowned researchers that have some old papers, you don't have a choice, you need to bring them in. because they are the pillars of the area, so long as they are relevant to your paper. So cite more current papers and cite less old papers. How? It depends on your field. If you are in the computer sciences, 5 years is already old. 2-3 years is considered enough already. So it depends on where you are. And then fit the paper into relevant sections. Please, for textbooks, if you have an area that is well specialized, you pick the textbook that is specialized in area, look at where the sections are broken down. It will give you an idea how you break down your sections in your thesis or whatever. But what we can add is to build on the story. Now you have all the information with you. This is how you build the story. What has been done about the problem or the gap that you found? What has not been done? What needs to be done? What will you do differently? What will you do and why? So this is where you craft the story. So once you get this thing done, you have already found a gap, you are original, your contribution is going to be significant, you are done with the literature. You can defend this anywhere you go, so long as you know what you have done. Now, after all this, let me move you to why students fail to complete their programs. One, lack of endurance. You see certain students, they are just here for fun. They can never want to work hard, but they want to get the degree. These are the kind of students who want people to write their thesis for them. You will never get it in a very serious scholarly way. Remember, we have a way to get you. During your Viva, we will get you if somebody wrote it for you. This is where we are going to scrutinize you. And for me, I have a very simple way to check. I will tell you later. So they look for easy way out. And sometimes they underestimate the program. They think they are so intelligent, they are so smart. Remember, postgraduate level, your smartness does not count much. Your effort, your ability to critically analyze situation, your endurance, these are the things. It's not how smart you are. You can see students are very smart. You pose a simple question, they only want to give textbook answers. That does not make you a smart student. We want students who are very practical and they can apply knowledge. That's the kind of student we are looking for. That's why I never pick a student based on CGPA. No, I don't do this. Right. So, and here, there are some students also who can never work independently. They want spoon-feed kind of system. No, it will not help. So seeking favors instead of working. These are the students who will try to play smart with their lecturers and whatever supervisors to be good in their books. We are not sharing degrees. You have to earn it before you are awarded. So for me, I will never do that for you. And I don't think any serious academician will do that. And then you see certain students, they have first class or whatever, they look at their impressive past achievements. The moment you come for postgraduate studies, we don't care about your past achievement. We care about what we are doing now. It's not about degree anymore. It's about output. So those are the things I will look for. And you can see if you have poor knowledge of the literature, I've taken my time to show you how you break down the literature. If you just go copy, cut, and paste, just forget it. Some of you also, because you are working, you are somebody in your country or in your institution, you bring this kind of status in the research. It will not work. You have to behave as a student so that you get the right training. It's not about your status, right? And then, of course, we will respect you, but that's a different platform. So here, wasting too much time on literature review, everything is good. Cannot distinguish what is bad from good, irrelevant from relevant, then you are just wasting your time, and we will know. And then here, no self-discipline. You don't even have a structured time. Your time is not regimented. You wake up anytime, anywhere, at any point in time. You need to regiment your time. There are certain people who work very well in the morning, afternoon. Some don't work. Me, I'm not very effective in the evening. And when I wake up in the morning, I don't do mechanic. I go and do, what do you call it, mental things. When I'm tired, then I do mechanical things. So you need to study yourself very well and don't follow your friends. We have our own way of doing things. Now, this is something that a postgraduate student should not do. You are an apprentice. We are not saying you should work like a robot, but you need to follow instructions and procedures. especially the science students. If you don't, you might end up killing yourselves in the laboratories. So we need to be very clear here. When we tell you don't eat in a laboratory, we know why. Otherwise, you will poison yourself. Go to the lab, wear lab coat. You wear it, wear a protective cover. You need to do. These are the things. So follow instructions and your life will be easy. We don't want students that are unethical, dishonesty, academic fraud, plagiarism. These are the things. When you refuse to understand and write in the language you understand, this is where plagiarism comes in. And remember, these days, technology is so advanced, you will be caught. Fabrication and falsification of data. It will not send you anywhere. If you have no conscience, you have to understand that you will be exposed one day. Even if you pass your Viva, you will be exposed by the community one day. So let us be very careful. There's no point falsifying your data and get the degree. Now, it could be very shocking that students will graduate without taking certain courses that are the foundation of every postgraduate student. What are they? You can imagine you do these kind of things. You never took a research methodology course. And even if you took it for just 2 days. I'm telling you, I can never teach you research methodology within 2 days. It takes me one whole semester to finish it. So how dare you go and learn research methodology within one? And this is where you're going to design your research, what to do, what not to do. So for me, by the time I teach you research methodology, if you're a new student, your research proposal must be ready, whether PhD or master's. It must be ready during the class. That is my role as a research methodology instructor. I can't believe it that you will finish and you don't even know any statistical analysis, whether being a mathematical statistical analysis or applied statistical analysis. If you are in the academia, you have no choice. You have to know this. How many times you give your work for others to analyze your data? Sometimes they might not understand it very well. Even correlation and regression, some people don't know the difference. And how do you get credible research data when you don't know what is experimental design and analysis? You don't know this. How did you actually come out with your designs? So those are the realities. Sometimes you don't even care to take special topics. Special topics can help you in your work, but it broadens your mind. I took special courses from master's degree until I finished, almost every semester. It helps you to know so many things. And these are the prospects that you're going to miss if you don't go about them. Sorry, I have few slides to go. Dr. Mutaka, you don't mind? Hello?
Yeah, Prof, you can just...
I'll be wrapping up very soon. All right.
Yeah, Prof.
All right. So now these are the few slides that I have. Please, you need to know certain training for professional, in a professional manner, like softwares, statistical modeling, scientific and technical writing. All these things I have been teaching this, so I can tell you where they can really place you. Extremely important. And then now we are talking about a lot of information, especially we in the sciences. We have problem communicating our scientific work. So you need to learn something called science communication. And then you also need something called instrumentation. You need to know so many uses of instruments so that when you stand on oath, you can build your own lab, you can conduct training and provide consultancy services. Now, what are the myths of thesis? These are the strange things. You will hear certain people say that they cap the number of words. Some universities, yes, they say 50,000 to 100,000. But for me, I don't believe in this. What I believe is generally it's not a requirement, but if the university requires you, you go ahead. But again, some will say, I want to write a perfect thesis. There is no perfect thesis, whether you like it or not. What we are looking for is your contribution, as simple as that. So just do a good job. And then the next part will be, if you don't mind, they believe that thesis is only done in the final year. So the first year, second year, you accumulate data or not. I think this is not true. From the first day you started your work, you're already writing your thesis. Remember, you are writing proposals, you are writing papers, conference paper, literature review. You are always writing. So that is how you write your thesis. And never, never go for a thesis. You will never get a groundbreaking, output from a thesis. It takes a lot of effort. If you get it, you are very lucky. So just forget about it. Just be original, have some good contribution, and it's significant. That's all. That's all that we are looking for. And then the originality must be there. What does it mean? A research an area that has not been researched, you go in, you identify the problem, and then you solve the problem, and you have the significance to extend your knowledge to the community. That's it. That's all that we are looking for. When we say significance, what do we mean? Impact on the society. And it must be very practical. How can it be practical? It can be used in the field, or you can publish in high impact factor journals. And then you can also impact society through intellectual property, where you hold the property and then it can be generated in the industries or in the organizations for them to use for, championing the cause of human, beings. And then what are the mistakes? There are few mistakes in writing thesis. I'm just highlighting. Remember, you must have variety of references. This variety of references tells us the breadth of your literature review, and it gives credence to your contribution. Now, this is where when we say breadth of variety, we are not talking about much of technical, whatever. We are talking about more of journal papers, and then less of conference papers. Those are the ones that we are talking about. Textbook references, unless it's a specialized type of textbook, we don't encourage you to cite textbooks. Why? Because some of the knowledge is in public domain. So you have to be very, very careful. Like now, if I tell you Pythagoras theorem, and I tell you it's in this book, Pythagoras theorem, where is the book? You want to cite the Pythagoras theorem, not the one that you read from. You have to go to the original source, which could be in the same certain centuries. So those are the things that we are talking about. Now, maybe here it's very important also you reference those that are in your field, and then it's very renowned people, don't forget about them. And then perhaps we can talk about, it's very funny. Please do not ever try to base your argument on any publication or any write-up where the credibility of the work is questionable. If you do that, you will fail in your thesis. Once the credibility is questionable, forget about it. Go for only credible information. So discredited information, avoid them. Now, the viva voce. Remember, when you go for your viva, we are there to assess the contribution of your work in terms of scholarship, and then in terms of how you go to the society. And we also are there to assess your knowledge, whether we should award you the degree or not. This is where you are going to be caught up. If you are not serious, you gave your work for others to do, you will be caught up that day. And then we will also want to see how we improve the quality of your work. Remember, the name of the university is there, the supervisors are there, so we will have to help you to improve the quality. And then we will also help you to find out whether your scope is all right or is credible. So it's our responsibility to check these things for you. So we are not your enemies. And the thesis examination committee also understand that the aim is to ensure that your work is up to standard. We are not there to bring you down. And then as expect, they are expected to uphold high level of professionalism. So here, once a while, you're going to have people that will have this kind of problem. Now, during the pre-viva, as much as you can, you have to prepare, no page by page, sentence by sentence of your work, because you are responsible. It's going to be a serious intellectual discourse, and you are responsible for the content, and you must know them offhand. And then when we go to during the viva, please be very calm, maintain your composure, but be open-minded. Don't go with fixed mind. Otherwise, you could be disappointed. Be very truthful, attentive, and moderate in your claims. Don't go and tell us that whatever you do will solve the whole world's problem. We know it's not possible. So you need to understand that part. Be prepared to also show the philosophical construct of your work so that we know the originality, the contribution, and then the novelty. Now, for the post-viva, revise your work as much as you can as instructed. And then if possible, you will also have to follow closely procedures. Otherwise, your thesis might be delayed and then you cannot graduate, especially if you are rushing going back home. Now, after graduation, what you do, it is up to you now for you to externalize your knowledge and your skills. And the point forward is you reap what you sow. So those are the things that I can share with you. Now, what are the summary? I'm just giving you the summary now. The summary that I'll tell you now is pay attention to what? Details. So not just get the grades, but you must learn along the line. Learn new things and have knowledge that is applicable at all times. Be innovative, contribute where applicable, and if possible, during your journey, inculcate how to write good notes, be a good listener, and then avoid copying or avoid distraction. Just go one at a time, write the way you understand, and then according to the way you go about it, be a smart reader. What do I mean by here? Digest and understand the information, and then annotate and then highlight very important information so that it will remind you when you come back one day to read. And then it's also good to print an online information, sit down and scrutinize it, especially if you have some eye defects. And then have some healthy relationship with your colleagues, your lab mates, I mean your study mates, and whatever you need to do that is very, very important. And then work together to accomplish a task is very important. And then join a group study or group research is very helpful. You will learn a lot of things. And then if possible, also find opportunities along your knowledge that will help you in the real world apart from yours, your area. And then this will enhance your career pathway. And then it will also involve yourself in teaching, research assistantship, extracurricular activities. They are all going to help you. And be in touch with professors if possible, because this is where you're going to have a lot of first point of call. And then they have a very deeper knowledge, whether outside or inside classroom knowledge. And they can guide you in terms of publishing, internship, other academic opportunities. And then definitely graduate studies and research, you also have to understand that research-oriented skills, information retrieval and processing, no credible information outlet and databases, knowledge on scientific research is very important. Avoid, stress as much as you can, self-discipline, healthy life, sense of purpose, being organized. And then time management, definitely you must manage effectively, but it go beyond that. You must have vision, you must have goals, you must have smart objectives, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic and timely. And then you must have good mentorship, very, very important. They nurture your talent, they help you to achieve your goals. And join professional organizations in field of, interest for network, support your students as much, and then their post-students. And then remember that meet people outside your circle, and then opportunity to attend scholarly meetings, very, very important. And then publish in very reputable journals regularly, and then be the first author if possible, and do not overwork yourself, and then take time off. And then find your niche as early as you can. It's a requirement in any graduate studies. And then it is also very good to expose yourself to many topics as much as you can. And then let your interests also lead you. It's very important. Otherwise, you may not succeed. Now, effective communication is also very important, and communicate clearly and honestly. And if possible, have a very good skill of scientific writing and write succinctly if possible, and then master the scientific way of writing. In fact, I plan to teach you all these things, but I don't know, your response can be very, very disappointing. And sometimes don't take failure as personal. It's part of life, and then you can work it out around. And it is important to have an individual journey. Remember that it's a marathon and not 100 meters. Some people can go it very slowly, but they will finish. It's not like 30 seconds kind of race. And do not compare, follow your own course. You are your own competitor. Somebody's success is not, but it can ginger you up. Cherish constructive criticism, and then advise yourself properly and pay attention to colleagues and mentors. What they say could be very, very important. And then it is your degree. You earn it through your own engagement, and do not what? Contract your work. Now, this is where I think I will end up. I have more slides to go, but I think I'll stop here. If you have any questions or whatever, we can discuss about it. But I think these slides will be very important. But if you cannot spare me time, I'm stopping here. Dr. Mustafa, the chairman, the floor is yours. If you allow me, I need about 10 minutes to get it done. If not, I'll stop here. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Prof. I think the floor can give you the 10 minutes just
Prof, I think I think 10 minutes is okay. You can continue.
May I? Because actually
yes,
they are very, very.
Yes, Prof.
Okay, okay, please.
Prof,
I mean,
please.
Okay. Because I'm not sure if I'm going to meet you again. These are the things that I really I wanted to do them in phases and series for you. So now when we say technical writing, actually it's a simple thing. It's just the way you express yourself in a very simple language, but the meaning is there for people who read your work to understand. That is all that technical writing is about. It's not here to check your vocabularies or what. The right type of choice of language is all that we are looking for. And then here, it makes life easy for your writers, you the writer, and also it's also help others to also follow you. So even non-native speakers also can follow you. So this is it. And here, when you write very well, we don't want you to write long sentences. They can be very difficult to understand. So the rule is like this. Don't write a sentence with more than 40, words. If it could be less, it's better. So long sentences, we don't want these kind of things. And then these are the things that we'll be looking for. So if possible, very nice sentences will have 10 to 15 words, should be enough. And then maximum, you can go up to 20, but don't fall below 7. We don't also want very short sentences. Sometimes they will be very, very hanging. You have hanging sentences, we don't want them. So now, to understand the fundamental, you need to understand the basic grammar. You see, grammar is there, we will all understand, but we also have to know how to use your prepositions. You must have rich vocabularies, and then you must also have basic subject-verb agreement, and then correct choice of words. I'm not qualified to teach you grammar. No, I'm just going to show you how you can go about it using a very well-constructed sentences. Now look at this. Probably, possibly, perhaps, and maybe. When you are writing a research paper, you should know the place of all these. This is why sometimes you write, they say the English is very poor, go for a native speaker or whatever. No, it's just simple things. So when we say probably, what do we mean? Probably you only use it when something has a chance of happening. Then you will use the word probably. So what it means here is the probability of an event to happen than other alternatives will be high. So if that is what you mean in your mind, write it that way. You cannot use perhaps. You cannot use possibly. So this is how you have to be very careful. Therefore, to make it easy for you, probability means what? Likelihood. Now, if it's likelihood, then it's more likely that something will happen, or else it's not going to happen. Then you can use it. What about possibly? Possibly, if you want to use it in academic writing, it is something that has a chance of happening, but the probability is very low. So if that is what you want to say, then use the word possibly. So when you write your paper, it's underlined, they say this is not right. This is what they are trying to tell you. So what I did mean, likelihood is low. And then perhaps and maybe, they mean the same thing actually. But something has equal chance. It can be yes or no type. If it's yes or no type, use the word perhaps or maybe. But I'll tell you, in academic writing, we don't use maybe, we use perhaps, because that is for formal language. So what we mean here is the main difference between maybe and perhaps is used for formal, maybe is used for casuality or informal, perhaps is also used for academic writing. You use this for conversational language. So you see, When you are writing scientific work, you don't bring conversational language. I used to criticize a lot of students in this kind of thing. So please be very, very careful with this. And then be aware, sometimes it's very sickening. Some people even don't know that data is plural and that term is a singular. This is not the place for us to tell you that criterion is singular, criteria is plural. Some people don't even know that people is for plural and person is for singular. Phenomenon and phenomenon. So these things, simple things must be there. Now, sometimes short, the right words to use at in the right context. Possess. This is not the right language when you talk about academic writing. In fact, this is why I said I wanted to teach you this. If it's a normal class, I will list all these things down and then probe your thinking and see. This is how you learn. So when you say this, we don't mean that. Just use the word have. And then sufficient. Sufficient is not up to that level. So we can use what we call enough. That is the right word to use at the right time. Now, what about this? Utilize. You can use the word, but the right word to use in technical writing would be what? Use. Demonstrate. I'm not saying you will not see this in papers, but if you are very careful, these are the things that we should be using. Show. And then another example could be like this. Assistance. No, you use help, but you have to know how to use help, because help is used for human being. Allow is used for human being. I'll show you later. Terminate. Can you imagine now, you say you terminated your research or you terminated your work. We don't terminate, we end. So when you write, these are the things. So now look at this. Prior to. It's not wrong, but this is a conversational language, but we have to use the word before. That's the way you use it in scientific writing, due to the fact that these are what we call excessives. We don't need these kind of things. Just say because, as simple as that. Be straightforward. Make it very simple, sound, and sweet. And then here, look at this. In a considerable number of cases, you say this and people say you are a very good speaker. This is all rubbish, excuse me to say. All that you are trying to say is often. As simple as that. We don't need this. The vast majority of. What do we need? Just tell us that it's most. That's it. And then what are some of the things that I can also share? During the time that. We don't need this. All that you are trying to tell is when. In close proximity. This is tautology. What you want to tell us is near. So these are the things that you need to be very careful. So it's not what you speak. So when we are correcting your work, we look for all this. Of late is not wrong, but we can use latterly or lately, in the past few days, recently. What else can I share with you? Not long ago. What do we use? Newly or freshly? In the last couple of weeks. We only need lately or recently. That's all. And then we also talk about in recent times. It's just recently. At the moment, we will use currently. So those are the things. Now, when we say a well-constructed sentence, your grammar may be correct. But when we say a well-constructed sentence, it means that the sentence actually has a problem, but grammatically is correct. So I'm not here to teach you grammar. I'm not qualified. I'm also still learning. So look at this example. It is suggested that a relationship may exist. Here you are in your thesis or in your paper. We will find this in your resource or discussion. So here, this is a good sentence. Grammatically, it is not wrong, but it is not well constructed. What should you write? A relationship may exist. That's all. Now, look at this example. There were several subjects completed. Who completed? No, just tell us several subjects completed. This is a very simple way of writing, and a total number of students. Just say that number of students is enough. Now, what about this? 5 different groups. 5 already tell us that they are different. 5 different also tell us they are different groups of whatever. So you need to say 5 groups or different groups. That's how it works. And then look at this. Simple things like this. A couple. Commonly, when you use the word, they say a couple of days. Normally, we are talking about only commonly for 2 days or 2. That is where you use. But when you say a handful, here we are talking about less than 5. Then you use the word a handful. Few means that more than couple, but less than handful. So we need to know how to use them very well. And then what about this? Some is more than a handful, but less than a dozen. A dozen means less than 12. Now, several, you see a lot of scientific writing, they are quoting more than 20, but they say several. If it's less than 20, then you use the word several. If it's more than 20, you use many. So these are the things that you need to be very careful. I really wanted to teach you so many things about this, but I really don't know when it's going to. Just look at these simple things. Also, as well, too. They all have a way, the way you use them. So don't just misplace them in writing. They mean the same thing, but the way you put them in writing will be different. So what do they? They are all adverbs. And what do? It's more or less like they add on to something, and then to a point, and then also to emphasize. These are their roles. So how do we use them then? So you can use them to join two sentences. Example, writing a good thesis needs commitment. That's the first sentence. Now you want to add on to the sentence or maybe emphasize on the sentence, then you say it takes time. You can say, you can place what? Also is correct, to is correct, as well is correct, because they will all end at the end of the sentence. They are all correct. But if it's in technical writing, one is more suitable. I'll tell you later. So same meaning because they all end the sentence. To has a way of, you have a way of using it. Of course, it's about agreeing or responding to something. Now, and it's usually between two scenarios. It's not used in isolation. So this is how it is used if you want to write. Let's say I say, just now you are two of you. Hey, did you enjoy this lecture or not? Then he said, I enjoy it. If you also enjoy it, then you say, me too. That's the way you use it. So it's not just used anyhow. Me too is used at a certain stage. Now, also, is the one that we use most in technical writing. So this is how you can write it. Commonly used in written English, least commonly used in what? Spoken English. So spoken English also is not common to start a sentence, but you can use also in technical writing to mean furthermore, in addition, or whatever. So here, unlike to and as, also can begin a sentence, and it's also add on. So example 1, good research requires interest. If you want to add on, you can say also, you cannot say else. To, you cannot say as well. So this is where also is used in technical writing. Now, it can also add on information to a point or emphasize or even sometimes constructing a instruction. Now look at this. It is the same sentence, but you see here, good research require interest. But because now there's no full stop, you can say it is important to be passionate in research. As well is correct, also is correct, to is also correct. So you should know where to place them in technical writing. So they all mean the same, but when you write this way, it's not formal, it's informal. That is mean conversational language. But if you want to make it formal again, you can use it also in a form of instruction or in a form of question. Can you write this research problem? Also, can you make it error-free? Now you cannot say as well as to, you can't. So this is how you write. So brothers and sisters, you can attend many workshops and whatever. If you don't have a personal commitment to this, you might not be able to fit into it. You see, the same sentence, we can change it and make it informal. And as well as is correct, also is correct, to is also correct. Now, master these basic uses. Master them. Near, what do you think? If I were to test you now, near, nearby, and near to. You see, there is nothing like near to. It doesn't exist. People just created it. So when you are having a technical writing, never write this. It's between near and nearby. So how do we use them? This is the way. Near is used before a noun and not after a noun. So the noun is the last word in the sentence or one word before. So look at this. Nearby does not require a noun. That's the only difference. Get this thing clear. Near comes after, before a noun. Nearby, no need for a noun. What do I mean? Look at this. The research is near his supervisor. Now you see here, the noun is supervisor. That it means that improper noun. You get it? Near. So we will use near. You can't say near to, you cannot say nearby. Now students are writing their papers near the auditorium. You see here, the auditorium is a noun. Now, the next one, nearby. Nearby is a little bit confusing. You have to be careful. It depends on the conversation or it depends on the writing that you are doing. Because it has no noun, sometimes when you write it, it will make no sense. Example, I am nearby. If you stop here, it has no meaning. So it must have a context. They all talk about location, but the context within which you are writing. So if I say I am near, that's a different thing. You get it? So how do you use it? Are you, example, let's say now you want to visit me. And then I say that you call me, where are you? I said, I am in the library. Then you will say that, oh, I'm nearby. When you say you are nearby, it means you are not from the library. Here, you cannot use the word you are near the library because it's a conversation that you are trying to put in where you are. So the right word will be what we say nearby. So these are the things that I would like to share with you. And then avoid hyperbolis. Hyperbolis means what? Here, extremely, unfortunately, fortunately, very. We don't do these things in scientific writing. Avoid them. Fantastic, flamboyant, fabulous, very. No, we don't write these kind of things and they must be out of your vocabulary. You see, for very alone, I can construct sentences from very, A, B, C, D, until Z, the way you use very. So it's very, very important that you are careful about this. Now, know the correct use of words. If I were to test you, even a native speaker will have it wrong. What is the difference between with and to? You will see a lot of, mistakes that have been going on. Whenever you use with, you are saying something is better than something. Then you can use with. But if the performance is similar, you use to. Example, if I say this research outcome is better, research A outcome is better than research B outcome, I can't say research A outcome is better compared to research B, because you say one is better, you say compare with. But if I say the outcome of research A compared to the outcome of research B are similar, then I can use the word to. This basic thing keeps, eluding a lot of people. Now you hear, since you didn't come to the class, you will not score good marks. Since is used for time frame. So that you are talking about reason. So you use the word because. You can even hear this on Al Jazeera, BBC, Voice of America. It has become a norm. It's becoming a spoken language, but you can't use it in technical writing. Subject and patients. If your research is in the hospital, you are dealing with sick people, you use patient. We know subject is the overall. So use the right terminology. Now, enable and allow, they are never the same. You say that lecture of the lecturer enable me to understand the lecture. So enable is used for inanimate object. Allow is used for human being. The lecture allow me to enter his room. That is the way you use it. Approximately is the official way of writing things. Approximately is more to exact. About can be less. So about is not used in technical writing. So those are the things. Now I have shared with you the last part, which you have to know exactly what scientific research is about. Any kind of scientific research, whether in the social sciences, the humanity, or in the sciences, all that you need to do is to follow a systematic way of discovering new facts. As simple as that. Or you will have a systematic way of confirming existing facts. or you are going to deny existing facts. I'm not going to go into these things. What I want you to understand is you need to understand this and fit yourself into your research. Not necessarily your work must be new, but you can confirm or you can deny. Or at the end of the day, what we want to see is all of you are contributing to knowledge. That is all that research is about. I can't go into these details. The only time you can conclude is based on this. Now, why am I pulling out this? For you to do this, you have to have a well-thought preposition. You must have a well-executed preposition. Your quality of the data must be good, and you must have a meticulous data interpretation, and you must have your goal and take-home message. Now, I will not go into this. If you are going to forget, this could be a guide as to how to write a research proposal. All these things I had planned to share with you, but I don't think that some of you are interested. Now, the next one will be, for you to have a cutting-edge research and output, you must have originality and quality. It must be relevant and timely. Novelty must be there. The uniqueness or the science aspect of your work must be there. And the inventive steps mean that if we want to repeat this, will it really be innovative for us to do so? And then the depth of your contribution and application must be there. Now, how are these things related? You can imagine you finish your postdoctoral work, you finish your PhD, you finish your master's, and you don't know how these things are related. Because one day you are going to supervise others. You need to create a research program. So here it's like a pyramid. You see, it is like a pyramid. The undergraduates will be below the pyramid, followed by the master student, followed by the PhD student, and then the doctorate student will be on top of the what? Of the pyramid. So when you understand this, then you will know if you are giving undergraduate a research problem, we know the question, we know the answer. Just that we want to train them to see how they go through the norm. If it's going to be master research program, you know the question, but you don't know the answer. That is how you craft the master, research program. If it's PhD, we are not sure of the question, we are not sure of the answer. That is where you have to dive in deeper and come out with a solution. All these research are guided research. When you come to postdoc, you are no more guided. You are working as a colleague. Therefore, you have the liberty to explore what you couldn't explore during your PhD level. This is how you set up your projects. Now, the last part will be, what are the groups? A lot of people call them in different groups. You have to know, are you doing qualitative research or you belong to quantitative research because the approach may be slightly different, or it's both qualitative and quantitative. You hear science students say, we are only doing quantitative. Who told you? Sometimes you can bring the two together. So those are the things. Now, I'm not going to tell you what they are, but you have to know where you belong. There are all these jargons going on: lateral research, horizontal research, longitudinal research, vertical. All that they are trying to tell you is some are very deep, some are very longitudinal, means it takes you a long time. If you remember, after the post-apartheid in South Africa, if you remember, before the apartheid, certain race, the Afrikaners, the black South Africans and the whites, they called for a certain group of people, and then they tried to monitor them before the end of the apartheid. So every 7 years, they go and then look at their perception and then try to see whether there are changes. This is what we call longitudinal research. Vertical means you go very deep. So vertical is more for PhD students, and then horizontal and lateral will be more for master students. It's not the number of variables you analyze, it's how deep and how grounded and the contribution. Those are the things that you should look for, not the number of variables. Now, but at the whole story, this is where it ends. We will have, at the end of the day, something called basic research, applied research, development research. Know where you belong so that you know the norms and what to achieve. Now, what is basic research? Just a simple sentence. Basic research actually help us to understand the fundamentals of a situation. Then you fill in the scientific gap. That's all. I wish I could tell you more, but time is not on my part. Because it's basic, we need to understand the fundamentals, just like COVID-19. Now we are under basic research. Very soon we will go into applied research, and then we go through the developmental step. That's why we are going to broadcast all the, what they call the vaccines or whatever. So now we are at the basic research. This is why it's taking us a long time. Now, once we get to the applied aspect, now we understand the fundamentals. We want to use the fundamentals to solve the problem. This is where you call it applied research. Now, that means that if it's applied, it shouldn't be long anymore. It must be just short. Then the technological, I mean, when you are talking about technology development, then it becomes technology, what do you call it, research. Here, if we are able to develop the vaccines and we have the technology for mass production, then this is what we call development research. So those are the things. And it's going to be definitely short. It shouldn't be long. So you can't go into this kind of research and expect 5 years research. No. So the last part is know the difference between invention, innovation, and discovery. They are very straightforward. I have shared it on other platforms. Invention means you are the pioneer creation of a product or a device. That is what invention is about. It can also be a service or a process. I don't have time to go into all these details. So they are different from innovation. So this is why you need to know where you are. Innovation is just to improve on an invention. What exists and you want to improve upon it. That is all that invention is about. So it's an existing product or a process or a device, or it can be a service. You just want to improve upon them. This is why if you look at AirAsia, their tagline is we innovate, others follow. You see, AirAsia never said we invent, because they did not invent the aviation industry, but they came in with their own product line and business model. That's why they say they innovate. Discovery is very simple. The thing exists, but you went in and discovered, and then you went in and found it. The first person to find it, that is what we call discovery. But in terms of English language, innovation and discovery all means, innovation and invention will fall under discovery, but scientific wise, who found something first is called discovery. So if you remember, Christopher Columbus is credited for discovering the Americans. The American existed, but he went and discovered. That's according to claims. So my conclusion to you, all of you, ladies and gentlemen, I really respect your audience. There are so many prospects over there for everyone, but a simple term, it is up to you to use or make use of them. Thank you very much for your kind audience. The chairman, I come back to you. I'm sorry for this time. Good day.
Thank you very, very much, Prof. Such a very wonderful presentation. A lot of information, a lot of guidance. This shouldn't be the end. We should have the opportunity of going in depth in some of the topics raised. So I will just open the floor. Any question, any comments, any clarification you need, please, the floor is yours.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum.
Any question you have? Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Okay, thank you very much, Prof. This is a very powerful presentation and a lot of information for us. I have a few questions. Number one is, and Prof, please pardon us, because of the presentation that you just made, we are careful what to say, and if we make any mistake, please forgive us. We are not.
Oh, it's okay.
Yes. My first question is, how do intelligence and passion play out in education? From your presentation, it's what I have. My understanding is that you are an intelligent person, and also you have identified your passion. So is there a situation whereby someone will have the passion for something, but it's not as intelligent? That's my number one question. Question number two, can a student and the supervisor really be friends? From your presentation, it looks like their relationship is as far as the academic work is concerned. But if a supervisor is also going to serve as a mentor, can he really be more than just a supervisor to the academic work, but can he also be a friend that you can discuss other matters? My question number 3, if I am allowed, is in writing, you mentioned the choice of words and how to apply them. Sometimes you don't want to sound, you don't want to repeat certain words, maybe in a paragraph. So you want to use alternatives. How do you still achieve that? And also being careful of the appropriate words to use. And my very final question, Prof. Is there any good, can you actually give us good references on scientific communication so that we can read further on that? Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much. All the questions that you asked me are very, very important, and I'm very, very glad that you were able to follow the lecture. Thank you for that. First, there are a number of references out there that will tell you about scientific research. So I don't have any particular recommendation for you. There are so many of them. But what I can assure you is whatever I gave you today, they are all from my experience. So I personally cannot tell you that this is a good one, this is not a good one, because this area is a little bit subjective, but the message is the same. So I'm sorry, I can't really give you a particular reference. It might not be fair to the other academics. Is it all right with you?
I'm fine, Prof.
Okay. Number 2, I'm starting from now, your 4th question to the last.
That's okay.
All right. Now, you see, you asked a very good question. When we say write succinctly and sweetly, this is exactly what we should be doing. Do not repeat the same word more than twice in a sentence. So it's because of the nature of this talk. I could have given you one word where I can give you 5 or 6 alternatives that are all formal. Example, I give you just 3. Thereafter, if I want to proceed, this word is normally used in methodology. This plus this was done. Thereafter, I did this. I don't want to repeat thereafter, I will say afterwards. I don't want to repeat afterwards, I will say after which. I don't want to repeat, then I will say then. Then you can bring next. You see, in the same paragraph, I have 5 words. They all talk about continuity. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes.
So it was just due to time. There are so many, it's just that you are not, maybe we are not aware. Let me use it that way. So I can tell you that, yes, what you said is correct. And we have so many vocabularies that we can use. These are the things that I really will want to share with you people, but I'm a bit discouraged today. I need to be very upfront. You get what I'm saying? So are you clear with me?
Yes, please.
Okay. Now, friendship in what we call it, supervision, is exactly what I do. If you don't believe me, you can ask my colleagues and you will know. I personally don't like this kind of supervision where it's like a boss and a servant. So sometimes when you see me within my students, you might not know that I'm the supervisor. And in fact, to extend that, some of my colleagues will always say that I should maintain some distance. Can you imagine you come and see me and my students are on a motorbike going to town?
Yeah, sure.
So for me, that's the way I want it. I never want my student to be like boss and whatever, but some lecturers wouldn't want it that way. So it can be on a personal note. Number two, some students also take advantage. But so long as you know your limits, I don't see anything wrong with this. So that is my personal view. But of course, if you are opposite sex, gender, then perhaps you should look at the community that you find yourself. Let's say in Malaysia, certainly you cannot be in the same room with the opposite gender. There are two ways here. You need to open your door. You got what I'm saying? Although there could be other things, so it depends. But what I can tell you is I believe in friendship, comradeship, and then together we move. But some, no. Am I clear to you?
Yes, please.
Now, you made mention of intelligence and passion. If you can discipline yourself and harness the two together, maybe you'll be genius. And because you have the passionate, you have the intelligence, ability to look at it critically, scrutinize, that will be fantastic. But in the real world, some of these things are not common. Because intelligence also is a relative word. You get it? So yes, intelligence can go with passion. That is fine. But sometimes you might be very intelligent, but passion here means you are intelligent, but you are not interested in that particular area. So in that case, you may not go forward. If I had not been dropping courses to follow my interest, I don't think I would have gone beyond my first degree. And I don't consider myself to be an intelligent person because I follow the little that I know. I want to know it very well and do it very well so that I don't forget. So that's what I can tell you. So you can be intelligent and passionate, very good. You can be intelligent, but you might not be passionate and you cannot proceed. Certain people are not very, very intelligent. They are slow learners, but they can be very passionate and they will make it. So this is where your effort counts a lot and your discipline counts a lot. So they are open for interpretation. So that is the way I look at it, but I don't know how you look at it. But I think it's a legitimate question. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Prof.
You're welcome.
Please, is there any comment or question? We're already.
I just have one question also. Hello.
Yes.
Okay. Well, first of all, Prof, thank you once again. And I have some question. And as I'm listening to the webinar now, I'm doing my methodology, my research methodology, and I'm trying to relate the philosophical assumptions. I'm going to use mixed method, and I'm trying to relate the philosophical assumptions to the mixed method, and then I found out the problem I'm having is from a epistemological assumption, I'm able to relate the pragmatism to what do you call it, both positivism and the others, constructivism. But when it comes to the ontological assumptions, I'm finding it difficult to relate pragmatism or the mixed method to a particular what do you call it, ontological, position. Because most of the books, the research methodology book, they say that what the pragmatism falls between, it's a compromise between the relativism and then what it called realism. So I'm getting a little bit confused here. So if you can help me on that.
Okay. I'm not in your field, but what I can understand here is, you see, this is why sometimes for you to do this kind of linkages, you need to have a little bit of statistical background.
Yeah.
You see, if you have, I'm not sure how well grounded you are in the statistical analysis. From the little that I get from you, if I were you, I would subject this data first to principal component analysis. That's the first thing I would do. I will also subject this to what we call stepwise regression and see how they are related. So at the moment, I can't tell you much because it's at the beginning stage, but I will tell you that it will better you dissect and have the variables and see which of them. It could be that you can come out, you see, like you are saying that there are two schools of thought. They are saying that this is this, and then when you bring them to that, they don't work. If you can take your time and then find out whether they will work or they are not working, and you can focus that and then bring them together, that will be your area. So you don't have to give up because they said this and others are also saying something else. You match them together, they are not working. Take your time, find a construct, bring them together. If they work, that's your contribution. So at the moment, I'm not very sure about your background, but I can tell you that you have the variables. You really have to segment them and block them together and run a principal component, and then we will see how it works out. I think in the social sciences, you have something called factor analysis or not. I'm not sure about this.
Yes,
You got
I'll
to
do
say
all those things, but I'm here to collect the data, but I'm writing the methodology. And in my research, I have to, at the end of the day, come up with a model. So I'm using mixed method, meaning that it will be strong quantitative, and at the end of the day, I use the qualitative to validate my model.
yes.
So, but when I'm reviewing the philosophical assumptions, I'm able to, because a mixed method has to do with the pragmatism position, and I'm able to, from a epistemological perspective, I'm able to relate it to positivism and constructivism. But
yes.
when you come to the ontological assumption, how do I trying to relate it ontologically? I don't have a specific one because the literature says that it's a compromise both between realism and relativism. So I don't know whether I should just leave it like that or just make it silent and move on, or I don't know. That is why I'm taking the opportunity to ask for your suggestion.
For me, if you ask me, just like I just told you, if you leave it on and you keep quiet, it could be that you are missing a very vital contribution.
Okay.
That's number one. If you keep quiet and you write your thesis or you publish a paper, it will be easy for you for them to punch a hole in your work. And remember, just now I did tell you that when you read a paper, you should look at the underlying assumptions and look at hidden assumptions. So what you are telling me is a hidden assumption that you are quiet on. So if it is detected, that's where you'll be pinned. By hook or crook, for me, I don't have the answer for your question, but what I can see is there is a way out, but I don't know for the time being. So it's up to you and your specialist to find out and see how you will go around it. I believe my instinct is telling me that if you are able to penetrate that, definitely you are coming out with something new. How to go about it, as far as I'm concerned, I must be honest, I'm not very sure, but I do know that if there's a way that you can harness your qualitative and quantitative, remember sometimes you can change qualitative into quantitative and then you run the test so that it's like it's a mixed model. I think that something will come out, but for the time being, I believe that you need to go back with your committee and then you talk about them. But for me, what I can tell you is don't drop it. It can be a dent in your work.
Okay, Prof, thank you so much.
You're most welcome.
Hello, Prof.
Yes, please.
I want to find out about this student supervisor relationship towards the project.
Okay.
Maybe in case you find yourself having a supervisor.
Sorry, there is an echo in your, okay, go ahead. Hello? Go ahead, please. The chair, I think he's offline.
Hello?
Yes, please.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead, sir.
I think in case you have a supervisor, maybe it's not, doesn't have so much command, or it's not a very well-renowned researcher in your area,
Mhm.
and sometimes also you have this kind of I know there will be some human character and things from supervisor and sometimes from student, but how do you reconcile some of these things in the research based on attitude, and sometimes person is still not content with what you are doing and all those issues? How do you try to manage that? I don't know if you have any experience on that, and maybe if you have anything to share on that. How do you still manage to go through this?
um, I mean, these are the realities that sometimes we do face. And what I can tell you is, if I'm sorry to say, as a supervisor is not, I mean, hasn't got the depth of where to supervise, some of these things will crop in. Because it's like you are just doing some gambling here and there.
Yes, sir.
Now, if it happens like this, definitely there will be a fallout. Because the student will be working very hard, maybe spend the whole 1 week generating the data. You go because you are not very grounded, you render it useless. It happens. But I share my personal experience with you before I come to the solution. I never supervise any student that I don't feel that I have control over the subject matter. I never do that because, one, I have my reputation to protect. Number two, I have to be honest as much as I can, not to ruin the future of that student. And number three, we have to come out with something substantial. So this is the way I go about it. But you might have others also who don't really care. They know they are not up to that level. They will tell you that they will have a research committee. This one will take this, but they just want the numbers.
Yes.
These are the realities. Remember, our KPI is very rigid. Every year, you must have certain number of students, current, graduating. Some put you on the line. So here, to be very honest with you, in the first place, I really advise people, before you pick a supervisor, you must understand whether the supervisor knows your work or not. If not, you might not learn much.
Yeah.
You will not learn much. You will get the PhD, but not. So now what you can do, what about your I mean, I'm not talking about you. What about the committee? Are they helpful?
Hello, Prof.
Sorry. Are they helpful before I come to the last part? Are they helpful?
Like we have a research group, and it's like most of the, as we heard, some of the good guys who were there, who were very strong, some postdoc guys and those people, they are not around. So it's like most of us are now fresh people, but it's just we are all students actually. It's just the only big guy around.
How long are you in your program? Sorry.
We are about 2 years now.
Oh, it's getting late.
Yeah.
Now, but if you bring ideas, are they thrown off just like that?
Not really. Not, but sometimes the difficulty is maybe difficult to understand some of the experimental results and the data. Though sometimes we get some people to also help, but sometimes the
yes.
It's not.
If the issue is on understanding and not understanding, then it's a bit difficult. But what I can say is, what if you send your work outside and give it to authorities for them to review for you, and then somehow slowly you let him also know, him or her know, that you are communicate with others. So whatever you are saying is credible in a very different language. Have you tried that method?
Currently, that's what I try. Maybe try to get people to also
yes
review and then Sometimes maybe he doesn't want you to communicate with some because of this, the internal rifts and those things.
I understand there are internal politicking here and there, but you see, another way, have you tried to publish the data in a very good journal?
Currently, not yet.
Try. Another way is to keep quiet. Publish if it's a very good journal, it will silence the person. When you do 1 or 2 or 3 times, you keep quiet. That's another way. When for me, I was fortunate. I had very good, supervisors, but I never consult them. I just publish and then give them a copy. You see, so, but you need to communicate with outsiders if you are going to pay or whatever. But I really understand it's very common, Cornelius. It's very, very common. That's why actually I'm here to tell you what is on the ground, not only here, everywhere, wherever you go. You see, I have students who come all the way. I'm sorry, I'm not here to bluff you. They stay here, they come all the way from other places, not because of the environment. They are following who is there. It's very, very important in the academia because remember, you are apprentice and you need to gain a lot of, what do you call it, knowledge. This is a case your data is not recognized. How would you be sent for intellectual forum? How will you get to know others when you are not even allowed to share your data with others? Not the sensitivity part. So it's a lesson for all of us here. Before you go in for any kind of supervision, make sure the person knows your area. I have one of these students, it's a Ghanaian student, the one I told you who just left. He wanted to do everything until I had to come in and veto him and say, stop, is enough, you don't have to go. One of them also came and wanted to do something. The theory was very clear. I knew it was not going to work. This student refused to listen to me until got the data, it didn't work. So you must have that kind of flair. And then sometimes also when the research is failing, you, the supervisor, must have the control. This is where you step up the game. You get what I'm saying? So if a student is teaching you all the time, there is nothing wrong. But if you don't even know whether the data is credible, is wrong or correct, then something is wrong. So I'm sorry, the solution here, human relation alone cannot solve it. Because the thing is, the knowledge is, if the knowledge is not there, then it's difficult. So what you can do is, 1, get outside help. Number 2, don't hurt him, respect him, try to publish in recognized journals. I think you will be recognized. Remember, do you know that you can publish a number of papers and that will be your PhD? Yes.
Wow, this is new.
It's very common. We practice that. Let's say if they are telling you, in Japan, it's very common. Let's say they say, okay, for you to have your PhD, you publish 3 papers in significant journals, and then you just have to write your introduction and attach your papers and some few format. That's it. It's allowed. We have an option. So when we say publish, it's not only publish because you want promotion or whatever. So long as the work is credible, these are the ways that you can go around. If you don't really make your work very well, remember your external examiners will come outside the country and you only go to the viva and see that you have wasted your time. So publish and gauge the quality of your work is very important. And I must sound this to all of you. If you are really a PhD candidate or master degree student and you still don't bother, you just want to finish your thesis and go without a very impactful publication, your thesis will not be recognized anywhere. I can assure you, since the day that I packed my thesis, I don't remember where I put them. So please, don't go home or don't leave the academia without publishing at least 1 very strong paper. You see, sometimes I get some CVs. You want to help these students or these candidates, but the requirement is not there. The requirement, so we cannot help you. You see, like now, we have a vacancy now. But if I should tell you the requirement, can you imagine they are telling you to write at least 10 journals in impact factor Q1 and Q2?
Wow.
How are you going to make it? And even before, when you come, you are going to be told that every year this will be your KPI. So it's not like publish or perish, but sometimes you need to be at the level that people cannot match you. That's the only way you can make it. This is why I said the ranking, one way to beat the ranking is to sell yourself. So for me, I'm telling you the truth. During our time, publishing is not like online type of thing. You need to write a paper, you send it through the snail mail, they review, they bring it back to you, all this back and forth and whatever. By the time I finished my PhD, every aspect of my work had been published. So I just left the thesis for them. I don't care. They want to take it, they take it. So please try to do that. If you can publish, it's better. Is it all right, Cornelius?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
All right.
Sorry, Prof, sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
I think I would have to end it here.
Okay. All right. Sorry.
Because.
Oh, Dr. Prof Ali. Sorry.
Even if not that, perhaps the timing. Most of us did not attend early, and then. From your presentation, so much to learn. There are too many things that they can stand alone as independent sessions. We'll be glad perhaps for subsequent sessions, maybe on research methodology, on the key areas that you have highlighted. Yeah, we have sessions on them.
Okay.
And number two, on behalf of the students and myself, we are sorry for the number. However, I would like to say that please do not be discouraged by our numbers. I think the few who are here, I believe they're making so much out of it. And in fact, some of the things you've shared, perhaps if we had known this earlier, our thesis wouldn't have been the same. And then we thank you so much for that. And then to the rest of us, want to emphasize on punctuality. That's Prof joined, I think, earlier than most of us. And then instead of starting at 5, started around 5:30 and even above. So please, let's try to be punctual. And the last thing, I realized that perhaps we have individual issues. People have some sort of questions related to their studies and the rest. So please do not wait only until when we have this session, then you will consult Prof or you will ask the question. That's why we have Prof Osumanu and Prof Ali on the platform. So feel free to ask them whatever that is bothering you anytime. I think Prof has mentioned that it's about maybe, can say 24 hours, always on call. So please try to utilize the time and try to let them know your need, so that they can address it properly for you, and you'll be able to finish your things on time. So that is all that I want to add. For those who have registered for the Vasamilari class, it is the same link. If you wish to stay, you can, or you take a break and then come back. Before then, back to our moderator. Sorry for the interruption.
Yes, sorry, Dr. Mutaka. This is just a quick one to the one who was talking about his work on the what do you call it, quantitative and qualitative. If let's say he tries and then the qualitative is not working, perhaps what he can do is he should concentrate on the theory to support the quantitative, and to find mixed literature. To support the methodology. If you can do that, maybe it can help you. If let's say there's no way out where you can bring them together, so just concentrate on the theory to support the quantitative, and then find a literature on mixed methods to support your methodology. Perhaps this will help in a way. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Prof. And thank you, Dr. Muntaka, for your input as well. It's important that we know this is a very, very important sessions. I mean, these are things we cannot just get anywhere. So if Prof is volunteering to come in here to share with us, let's try as much as possible to be early. If Prof can join like 30 minutes before the time, I don't think we have any excuse. If we know this is an important thing for us, then we should be joining very early, so that Prof too would be encouraged to do. It's important. It's important. Please, let's be punctual. Let's respect the time and value the kind of information being shared here. So thank you, Prof. And I will join Dr. Muntaka to tell you that do not be discouraged. We are learning so much. And we thank you so much for your mentorship and guidance. And we keep on praying to Allah to protect you for us. So I would.
Sorry, just one last thing to our Christian brothers and sisters. If the timing is not suitable for you, just alert us, because some of you could not join because of church service and the rest. Yeah, so if the timing is not convenient or appropriate because of church service, just alert us so that we all will discuss and then have a convenient time for all. Thank you so much, and thank you too for alerting us on your absence. We really appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody.
I'm sorry. Just my last word. I also would like to thank each and every one of you, and to be very honest with you, I decided that today will be my last day to have a talk with all of you. But from what you are saying, we may try another session, but I really feel so sad that there are much things that you are not aware and you need to be aware. And it takes a lot of effort behind the scene to come in front of you to give you a talk. And it's really, really not acceptable in any academic setting where the one who is going to talk will come and sit and wait for you for 30 minutes. I just have to make it very clear to all of you that if it were to be my students and even a lecture, one time my own student, about 10 of them, they were late for 5 minutes and I was going to teach them similar thing, and I stopped it until today. I never did it, because you are going to carry this kind of attitude to a certain level that might not help you. We need to shed off this kind of African time, excuse me to say Ghana time. It's about time we change. If we really want to blame our leaders, this is not the way. I'm sorry. I was really disappointed, and I think this is not the way. Thank you very much, but we will continue again. Right.
Yeah, thank you, Prof, for your sincerity and giving us another opportunity. I think next time we will come on time. Everybody should be encouraged, and we should take it very serious. We really value the information shared here. For example, myself, today I had production here in my company, but I stopped the production because of this session. And I had light out. I informed Dr. Muntaka. I used my mobile to make sure that everything was stable and all those kind of things, because the information here is super important to us. So we really cherish your contribution and your guidance, and we hope to be punctual next time. Thank you very much. Back to Dr. Muntaka. If you have something, then we just end it here.
Sorry, Prof. If we can get the slides later.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Inshallah, once received, I will email to you all. And thank you so much. I think we have the Madam of the House, Madam Adiza, if she has something to say before we draw the curtain down.
No, Dr. Muntaka, thank you very much. I have nothing to say.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, Dr. Amtali. All right then. If anyone else with something, with just let's say a minute thing to say, If nothing, then we are gone. Okay. Okay. Then, moderator, you can end the session, and then I welcome the rest at 9 for our next session with Prof Osumanu. Okay.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for coming, and see you in the next couple of minutes in Dr. Prof Ali's lecture. Thank you. Goodbye. Good night.
Mutaka?
Yeah, doctor.
Is it the same nick for the browser?
Yes, the same link.
Okay.
Osumanu, just only 30 minutes section.
Okay.